Good evening, one and all. It is Sunday, it's the end of the week. It is time that we jump into some more good old Warframe. Welcome on everyone, hope you're doing well where you are around the world. We got the ping lights behind us and the request there of Zom just moments ago. That's all set up and good. Hope everyone's doing well and had a wonderful weekend. If you haven't, which I know that's going to apply to some people, you can still sit back and relax here because today's focus is this absolutely zany character right here. Do people still use the word zany? I'm going to stick with it. This zany character right here, this is Temple, and this is using the proto skin for Temple, which is of course Flare. And I have done up Flare in a, well, I've gone for the not black, kind of an off-black purpley hue with strong blue elements all throughout, but still that fiery colour burning through the hand, of course. That's what I've gone with for that. Not bad with Temple then? To each their own. To each their own. But, oh yes, this is the focus today when it comes to Warframe content. I want to be having a look at building them. I want to be having a look at what their abilities are all good for, what kind of synergies they are open to, all of that good stuff there as they're just kind of using the bursting as a instrument. Go right ahead, do your best. Absolutely. Yes. And we got T in hand as well. Now, I will preface this by saying I have already had a look through Temple's kit. I've gone through their abilities, I've gone through some modding for them, I've given it a start, a pass to it all, and I'll be quite honest, I'm missing something. That is the conclusion I have to come to. I am missing something with Temple. I need to find out what it is. First things first, what we are going to go through is actually go through the tips. I don't usually do this when it comes to a brand new frame. I probably should do it more often, but let's just step right through the tips, see what DE has had to say about the different capabilities of Temple here. Maybe I'll be surprised in that. I believe I read through these, but all the same. Try casting all of Temple's abilities on the backbeat to gain bonus effects and conserve energy during a live performance. So that is relating to the passive. If you cast an ability whilst the metronome is within the backbeat, you get a 50% increase to your ability efficiency. You may get more if you're working with the Exalted Solo. My face in the way of the tips, that's why I'm reading them out for you, Esprit. Don't you worry, I'm not going to move my camera every time someone wants to look at something slightly off to the side. I'm reading them out. You can hear my voice, and if you're watching only without listening, what the fuck are you doing on a live stream, quite frankly? Next up, pyrotechnics will detonate in a radius from where you are currently aiming. The heat pillars can reach enemies behind Temple if your target is close by. So that is referring to the first ability. That's just basically describing how it works. It sets up pillars, it deals fire. It's kind of like a cast of Volts 1. Pretty much like a cast of Volts 1, but rather than just targeting enemies in the area, it sends up pillars which probably target enemies, might target other areas. That's what that one comes down to. Each new heat status effect will cause the enemy to panic. Chain pyrotechnics cast to keep the room locked down while stacking damage and charging your Exalted Solo. That is basically just saying heat is a thing that can cause panic. It's a tip. It's a tip. It's just not like a flare specific tip, aside from the charging of the 4. Next tip, Overdrive affects enemies in front of Temple, making it ideal for high priority targets you want taken down. I don't know about the high priority targets, but it is indeed an ability which is cast in front of you. Okay, I am just going to be in the way all along this tip section and abilities, aren't I? Sod it, let's just turn off the camera. Who needs it for a moment? So yes, Overdrive, it has a fixed 100-degree angle. There's nothing you can do about that. That's just the angle you get with it. Kelton, thank you for the bit. But that's really what all that one comes down to, is just, hey, yeah, it aims forwards. Use it forwards. Next tip, Overdrive's critical chance vulnerability is not dependent on the critical chance of the weapon, making it best paired with any weapon that has a high critical damage multiplier. Straight up saying it's just a absolute critical bonus. And the absolute critical bonus I have here is 60% or 120% when using the backbeat timing. That's the current modded value I have on it. If only there was a way to save where you were through these tips. Temple is invulnerable while casting Ripper's Wail, giving you time to reassess the situation in emergency. That's literally just describing the ability. Casting abilities to damage enemies on the backbeat while Ripper's Wail is active will increase the heat damage it offers, while also extending the duration of the ability, which is just the function of it here, yes. It's just the function of it. It says it there. Allies' weapons with infinity range are lit up with extra heat damage each time an ability is used on the backbeat and successfully hits enemies. Note the "and." You can't just spam on the backbeat, it has to hit enemies. And that is referring to these two here. They both say it. Backbeat timing ignites even more pillars, or doubles critical chance, and then both of them increases duration and heat damage of Ripper's Wail when it deals damage. Okay. Next up then they're saying Ripper's Wail buff decays slowly when the ability expires. Recast while the buff is active to refresh the duration, retain your accumulated heat damage bonus. Simply that. Don't let it run out. If it does run out, it'll tick down slowly. It's not a complete loss if you're out by just a second. And I have to say, this might be one of my favourite features of this entire Warframe. This right here is something that could be added to so many other refreshable abilities, refreshable scaling abilities. Imagine this on something like Chroma, where you can build up the power, or something like Trinity with the Augment, building up the power there, where if you somehow screw up, which is a very easy somehow screw up, if you screw up and the ability runs out, you lose the entire bonus, you lose all stacks, everything gone. Ripper's Wail does not do that. It stays at full bonus, however much bonus you got, until it expires, and then it slowly comes down. That could be applied to so many other abilities, and it feels so much better. You don't worry about mistiming it slightly, or being stuck on a knockdown at just the wrong moment. You'd love that on Gara? It would be great on Gara. That kind of feature already exists on Sarin, although Sarin Spores is a very aggressive rundown, whereas this is a much more palatable one. So I would like to see that applied to more Warframes that have already been released. That would be brilliant. So that is a very, very nice one on Ripper's Wail there. Let's see, what tip were we up to? That one, yeah. Exalted Solo is charged by casting abilities on the backbeat. It can even be recharged while active. Sure. Simple as. And lastly, when aiming with Lizzie during Exalted Solo, Temple's ability inputs will shoot solid walls of sound, inflicting guaranteed status effects depending on the input, which is, again, a description of a function. The description of a function. Ozzy says, sad the cap is not getting an increase with abilities. I'm going to presume you mean not getting an increase with stats, because abilities don't increase abilities in that regard. But yes, indeed, the heat damage cap is 750%. You change your starting position and how much you gain on the backbeat. Bear in mind, that is quite a few casts to get up to that bonus, even with my current strength. With a 750% max, minus the 182 starting point, divide by the 12 per backbeat, that is 48 casts on the backbeat in order to get to the full value there. That's not a small amount of casting. That is absolutely not a small amount of casting. Even at the cheapest one, which would be, well, probably about 25 energy with this build, maybe slightly over, you're going through a hell of a lot of energy to get there. It's a long haul time bonus? Absolutely. If you're using it at base values, 100% strength, which don't, this frame is definitely set up for strength. But if you were using it at base strength, 750 minus the initial 75, divided by the 5 gain per backbeat, 135 ability casts. The more strength you have, the sooner you get to that max. So it is limited in what that max can achieve, but it also means that you don't need to worry too much about strength to get maximum out of that bonus. And considering that 750% elemental damage will massively override the elemental weighting of your weapons, that stops it being all status chances nothing but heat. If anything, that is a positive. I dare say, if anything at that scale, it is a positive. So yeah, is it their passive, just FYI, isn't their passive really good with the Furious Incarnate? The passive is irrelevant to any weapon, because it's about playing abilities on the backbeat, so I'm not sure what you're on about, Potatoes. Really not sure what you're on about there, sorry. Has nothing to do with Incarnates. Unless there's a specific Furious Incarnate feature you're referencing that I'm just not remembering right now that relates to gaining efficiency temporarily. But yeah, so that is the basic rundown. You have fiery pillars cast around a spot you point out within range, which just damages enemies and burns them a bit. Also, if you time it correctly, you give more time and fire to your 3. Overdrive, which will make enemies in a not particularly wide cone become vulnerable to crits. Or rather, it's not so much vulnerable to crits as generate additional crit chance for you on top of it. It's kind of a weird way to describe it. I'll have to think through how exactly to phrase that for a video guide. But yeah, it's just a cone of, hey, you enemies, take more crits. Also burn a bit. And boost to 3. The 3 is, hey, did you want heat damage? Here is all of the heat damage. Also heals you and makes you invulnerable on casting. And then Exalted Flamethrower. That is pretty much what Lizzie is from top to bottom, side to side. Lizzie is an Exalted Flamethrower with all the stats you might expect from a Exalted Flamethrower, with the ability to fire off corrosive, cold, magnetic, or viral waves on demand, if you so desire it. But mostly it's an Exalted Flamethrower. As also, interesting note, if Temple's heat bonus works like Shock Trooper or Fireball Frenzy, the way DE fixed it was by making them give status damage, not count as a heat mod, might be worth checking. No, Zom, no. What? What do you... Giving status damage isn't itself a workable phrase here, because status damage is a multiplier stat to the damage dealt by status effects. So, are you suggesting that they only apply status procs and not the actual damage bonus? If that's the case, it shouldn't be like that. That's a bug. They do apply an elemental bonus. If what you actually mean is they don't combine, then yes, but you did not say those words. What are you trying to say, Zom? Because at the moment, that's a little bit of a either bug description or snafu right there. And is also very easily damageable. So let's grab just a base Foreman. Grab ourselves a nice, lovely testing Foreman, nothing special on it. We'll just give it some status chance. We're not here forever trying to get things to proc. That'll do. 43.2% status chance. That should be enough for demonstration purposes. Let's equip no companion so that I can't screw with anything. And let's just test this real quick. What's Lizzie's base status chance? I'll double check in the simulacrum in a second.
You are a true hunter.
Do the heat proc scale with the gained heat damage. Recall hearing Temple suffers from that bug. If Temple is acting the same way as every other frame that gives weapon elemental bonuses, and currently it shouldn't be scanning the heat procs. I'm surprised we didn't get a bug fix for that with the release of Temple, especially giving Temple's position, but also just how detrimental it is to so many builds. I'm really surprised we've not had that fix yet. Really surprised. Before we actually get going, I just want to point out the slight silliness here. You can see at the bottom right of the screen, the 4th ability I have is flicking on and off in terms of it is available to cast. And that's because I've got such low efficiency. Normally it casts at 155 energy, but if I do it on the backbeat, it costs 0. So it's blinking on and off because I don't have the energy to cast it except during backbeat. And if I use up a bit of energy, I imagine we'll see the same for other abilities as well. Look at that. That blinky blinky effect. So it has the efficiency showing during the backbeat. It's not on cast, it's whilst it's in that moment. The efficiency is actually immediately updated. Okay, so as far as I know, the way that D fixed the issue, Fireball Frenzy and likewise, from what I've heard, the bonus Dooku mods give to proc damage, i.e. additive to status damage, not heat mods. Unsure if it only gore the corresponding proc. Jesus Christ, son. Okay. So your understanding is that the bonus damage from elemental additions is currently being added to status damage rather than elemental damage. You think that's how it works? Okay, well, we can verify that as well. First of all, let's see if we're getting combined or uncombined effects here. Let's just grab a single... I'm going to need something that doesn't have armor on it. Let's go for a shuffling fragment, because we also can't headshot these, and therefore can't get any silly crit bonuses. So that should be a safe thing to test against. Oh, but they do have a vulnerability to electric, don't they? And radiation, but yeah, that is going to slightly screw the math a bit. Okay, the legs? No, because they have a huge headshot hitbox, which increases crit chance in ways I don't want to mess with, as well as the headshot multipliers. I'm trying to avoid multipliers, not add them. This is testing. So there I crit for 2.5k. If I don't crit, it's 703. 703 or 2.5. I don't like having the compact numbers at the moment. Let's try that again. 703 or a crit of 2479. 703, 2479. Let's get a notepad open. 703, 2479. Alright. So now we activate this. That's given me a 182% bonus. 1609 for non-crit. And crit 5674. Okay, well I can immediately run those numbers. 5674 divided by 2479 is 2.29. Now we have got, as I said, the matter of damage type here. Let's extract those details. So the Fullman shotgun is primarily electric. So 80% of it is getting a 50% bonus, which is a 40% overall bonus. So we could say that 2479 is 140% damage. When we add on then the ability, which is giving us heat damage, and it should be applying heat separately. Let me recast and just test that. Do we get heat procs, electric procs, or do we get rad procs? That's a heat proc. I mean, that's just sells it in itself. But let's look for an electric as well. Pretty please. Pretty please. Don't go out of the area. The jitteriness on that. What is that? And there's electric. Yeah, so we're not getting radiation. We're getting heat electric. So it's non-combining. That is good. So with the ability bonus of 182%, by my reckoning, that should bring us up to 322% overall. So if we take 2479 divided by 1.4, multiplied by 3.22, I'm expecting 5702. I got 5674. I am going to chalk that up to damage quantization. I'll be quite honest with you. I'm going to chalk it up to that. As also, I'm not sure if it'll only increase the status damage of the corresponding proc, so I think we need to test with a heat weapon. We can test the different bits side by sides on. Funnily enough, I have the capability... Josh. I have the capability to look at numbers and figure out what's happening. It's a very special ability, I know. Not that special. Alright, so... let's get electric proc and get our baseline for proc damage. There we go. It's a proc damage of 376. That is taking into account the vulnerability they have. I should probably use a different enemy, to be honest. That vulnerability is going to get in the way. But do I have an enemy that is not weak to heat or electric or radiation or impact? That is easy to test against. So shields also I would like to avoid, I'll be honest with you. Now I could try the tech and just strip their shields, actually. That might be better. Take a tech, because I can avoid the headshot pretty easily on them, and then we'll just use a Nairu to strip shields. This will give me better numbers to work from. This will give me better numbers. Eximus? Actually, you're right, actually. I could do it against Overguard. Yeah. That is smart here. Let's grab Eximus. Let's grab Arrow Trooper Eximus. It's right there. Okay, so retesting now. Damage numbers against this. Crit 1763 for 882. 763 for proc. Was it 862 I said? Non-crit 500 for 251. I just want to try and get that crit electric proc again. Need to wait for this one to go. 882, not 862. Okay, cool. So that gives me the baseline values. If we once again add on this, $1406, or well, there's a heat proc of 251 on the heat proc. Interesting. So that is the same proc as we got with electric, which suggests no elemental bonus is being applied. Not status damage, not elemental bonus damage, no bonus whatsoever. So Zom, you were talking about status damage being applied. I've got 0 bonus. How does that factor into what you were believing a moment ago? What am I missing from your message there? 1958. It's like 4958 divided by the 1763 crit 4, 2.82. Yep, that's lining up perfectly. So we are getting an elemental bonus as expected there. It's a non-combining one. I want to see if it is additive with elemental mods. Let's apply an electric elemental mod, because that just leans into more of the Fullman's nature. I'll just say, so temple levels are still bugged on element damage, but believe all base elemental buffs got fixed. Interesting, okay. We can verify that in a moment, actually. So this is now 3305 on crit, or 938 was that? Without? 938, 3305. Just re-verify. 938, yep. Okay. So now I've got 1906 and crit of 6721. So this should be almost exactly bang on. Cool, yeah. The numbers line up quite nicely. Want some rock in the background? Yeah, we can do that. Let's grab the Stream Beats rock. I'll put on the instrumental so it doesn't talk over me. There we are. As I said, brought up Temple Streaks. I thought it was worth checking if there's similar oddness with it, being a new elemental weapon bonus. Yeah. Yeah. What we're seeing is indeed the same kind of shenanigans which is affecting Lavos. Let's just verify the same thing with Ember and Fireball Frenzy. See if they did fix that.
I got a dozen different chemicals slam dancing in my blood.
Shh. And this is why I don't proto-frame. Okay, I don't know how I managed to type Ember so badly, but there we go. Ember Prime. Let's, oh good, nice empty one. Perfect for testing. Fireball Frenzy. I have apparently never ranked this one up. Well, let's fix that. Okay. It's alright, Some. It's fine to test. It's fine to double check how these things work. It's just when you do suggest things, one, make sure that you are actually communicating in a reasonable manner. Typos on critical messages like that is just no bueno. Because I need to know what the hell you're saying. And second, you need to make sure you're communicating things that you are at least somewhat certain of, or make it clear that you are just guessing. So you talked about status damage, and it seems to have absolutely no bearing on that there. I'm going to now have to dig into other things to try and figure out where your potential idea has come from. Which, great, we're also working through Dean's bugs. That's the situation it leaves me in, if you understand that. I don't need to worry about duration modding Mail Jade, because I can always still just cast a recasting and test from that. Alright, let's get a new enemy just for certainty's sake. Oh hey, it's a Jade Xmas. Alright then, so without any elemental modding or bonuses, we are once again at 1763 or 500. That is working as expected. if I activate this ability, we should now see double direct damage. 1000 with a proc of 501. Interestingly, the proc has indeed gone up. Now, is it also going to happen on the electric damage? No, it did not. So it's not status damage outright. It might apply to just the bit that is heat. Okay, way to make this more complicated than it needs to be, but let's have a look. So if I get a status damage multiplier, does it add to it? Does it multiply with it? We saw a 501 proc from the heat proc. Will it go up by 90%, or will it go up by a smaller amount? Interact with that to make sure there's no lasting issues from the arsenal. That's electric proc. Electric proc is now doing 476, which is, I suppose, as expected. It is good, so that is working fine. Activate this. No proc. No proc. No proc. Please don't crit on this. Okay, heat is coming in at 726. Well, I can tell you now, that's not a 90% increase. Zom is absolutely onto something here. If we take 726... sorry, if we take 501, divide it by 2 for the original 100% bonus, and then multiply it by 2.9 for the additive increase from the mod, I get 726. Oh yeah, Zom, you're absolutely correct. You pitched it in a awkward way, but you are absolutely correct. It is a status damage bonus rather than a elemental damage bonus. Okay, this is both a good thing and a bad thing. I used first ability, not third? Yes, Room, I know. I did that intentionally because this is Ember. Welcome to the stream. So, this is both a good thing and a bad thing. It is a good thing in that it is multiplicative with any other elemental bonuses you'll have on the weapon at the moment. It's a bad thing. You missed me changing the frame? Jesus Christ, okay. Yes, hello everyone, this is Temple. On top of it being status damage thing, it can multiply with your elemental mods already on your weapons, so if you are just further empowering your heat, excellent. If you're wanting to use it without any heat mods, well, you're still getting the bonus you were kind of expecting. But it's not working on Temple. I'm gonna guess from what people have been saying it's not working on Lavos either, so D have not fixed it, but amended it in some places. And let's be real, an elemental bonus, which is applying as an elemental bonus on the weapon, should not be then applying a status damage bonus to the status effect. That is the C in DE right there. That is the consistency we have come to know and hate with DE math. Dear God, that's not fixing it. That's just making it worse. That does genuinely make it worse, although mathematically workable in some ways. It means that status damage modding is additive with it, so if you know you're going to be going down that route, then it's a negative for you. The C in digital extremes? Yes, Alia. The C in digital extremes stands for consistency. And if you have a look through the words digital and extremes, you'll see why I'm saying that. So this is additive with Fireball Frenzy and other things which are working like it at the moment. Temple, despite doing a similar thing, doesn't do it, and apparently neither does Lavos. Any idea how to mod Ash and Core post rework? There'll be guides on that in the near future. If not, other creators can cover you if you don't want to wait for me. Because I'll need to test all of these interactions, because DE has an interesting idea when it comes to implementing workable bonuses. Fireball Frenzy adds extra heat damage. It shouldn't add status damage to heat procs only. It's not even adding status damage, it's adding status damage to a specific proc. Or is it? Hold on, let's Did I get an electric proc whilst I had Fireball Frenzy active? What are you going to give me? It is just the heat ones. Oh my god. Surely this was harder to code. Like, surely. Surely this was harder to code. Okay. The fact they consider that a fix, that's... No. No. Like, you can come up with so many different non-gaming scenarios where that kind of fix would be terrible. If you do that in accounting, you're going to end up with errors all over the place the moment two things try adding together. You do that in industry, you're going to have just recipes absolutely broken, quantities out of place, alloys won't work because the amount of material is just going to be wrong in places. Only in a video game can you get away with this kind of mathematics just because you then look at the players and go, well, they're still getting damaged, they can deal with it. No, I'm not going to deal with it. This is an incorrect implementation. Someone has quite clearly done the wrong thing. And that is frustrating me. Alright, fine, whatever. First world problems. So, separate from Temple, all the base elemental bonuses that aren't Lavos are broken. Haven't tested all of them. They're broken in a different way to how they were broken before, so now we have multiple different cases of how things are broken. I just... Boy. Oh boy. Gecko say hello, not quite sure what's being tested, a little glad I'm not the only one gets confused by DE stuff and wording sometimes. It's not just stuff and wording. Like, they've straight up taken a bug where things just didn't work at all, and then made half of them appear to work, but only if you ignore how they're not actually working. Ah! It hurts me. It hurts me. I'm turning that off. That's gonna just grate the hell out of me. Oh god, not like that. Dialogue. It'll be under dialogue, of course. Oh, that's why they're so loud to me. Fucking Christ. No wonder they were so loud. Alright, I'll just turn them down for now. See if I can handle it then. That was... Alright. It's called Gemini Skin Dialogue. Yeah, I saw that there. Oh, we got there. We got there. Okay. So... to recap what we have here. We have this ability applying an elemental buff, which is additive to elemental modding, which is non-combining with elemental types on your weapon, giving you an assurance of heat available on your weapons. It applies to allies as well. I don't know if it applies to companions. That will need testing. However, it does not appear to buff status damage in the slightest. Doesn't buff them in the slightest. And considering that heat is a status damage based type, that is a problem. Not to mention... Oh, gods. Heat inherit. Oh no. Oh. Give me a moment. I really need to just brace myself for this one. I really need to brace myself for this. Okay. So, quick recap on those of you who are unfamiliar with Heat Inherit. Let's take this from the top. Heat Inherit is the nickname given to the mechanic whereupon the first heat proc applied to an enemy sets the bonuses applied to all heat damage applied to that enemy. it sets them. And those bonuses will not be altered until the heat proc on that enemy completely expires, and this is tied into the fact that adding any heat proc to an enemy with a heat proc on them will refresh the duration of all heat procs on them. The only variable element when it comes to... only variable part when it comes to that status damage is the amount of base and critical damage behind the hit. So if I were to apply a heat proc to this target, and that heat proc would have a heat bonus of 0%, then all subsequent heat procs applied to them until heat runs out would also have a 0% heat bonus, just using base values. Even if, say, I was then using a weapon with a 200% heat modding, or if someone else was using one with 200%, tough, 0%, no bonus. Vice versa, if you applied a heat proc with a very, 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 very weak weapon, but all of the heat bonus, and then applied your heat procs from other sources, they'd also get all of the bonus. And if that was bigger than their own, well, they're getting a buff. David say, after watching your YouTube videos for so long, I imagine you to be an older, round dude with a mustache. Well, I'm glad, I guess, to completely defy expectations. Sure. Gecko say, before I snake off to bed, let me just say I'm a big fan of YouTube videos. Help me real ton. Bit out of the blue, but hey, big loves to you in chat. Cheers indeed on that, Gecko. You have yourself a good rest. Cheers. You picture me with a mustache too? Instead, I am just some fresh-faced looking dude on the internet. Here's the extra fun thing. Imagine how old you thought I was based on my voice. Imagine how old you thought I was. Get that number in your head. Now, imagine how old you think I am just looking at me. Take out the voice, just go by the visual rather than the audio. Now take those two numbers, average them together. You might actually get my age. You thought I was like 15, now you think I'm like 20? Okay, not quite there. I am 31. I am in fact 31 years old. Good genes? Hell yeah. Voice of authority, face of just cherub youthfulness, all that good stuff. Serious, went out to meet up with some folks just yesterday, and the topic of age came up at the table. People like, oh yeah, I'm 20, 23, 25, 29. You know, wow, yeah, okay, you lot are all younger than me. How am I the oldest at the table? Like, and they just looked at me weirdly. What do you mean you're the oldest at the table? 31. Yep. Many is shocked there. Is 31 even that old? 31 is not old. Absolutely not. Not unless you're not looking after yourself, or maybe you have kids and they've run you down. 31 without kids is not old. Not in the slightest. 31 is not old. Now, age doesn't make you old. You get older, but it doesn't make you old. What makes you old is if you allow yourself to be old. If you allow yourself to be old, then you're old. And that can happen at any age. Old is definitely a mindset and a lifestyle. Very right there, David. Definitely a mindset and a lifestyle. Although that can be brought along by medical conditions, you know, if things start falling apart, things start falling apart. But yeah. You're as old as you feel, yeah. Within certain legal limitations, please do not take this as an excuse to break the law. Just putting that out there. Just putting that one out there. Anyway, right. This, however, is probably going to age me. How have I not gone grey by going through Warframe math at this point? I don't know. This is all natural hair colour. How this doesn't turn me grey, I don't know. But this is a sitch. So. Temple's third ability will give you a hell of a lot of direct damage bonus, and absolutely no status bonus, and Heated Herit is probably going to cry about that. How do I feel about the new power level of frames versus old frames? I don't think we can really properly measure that. simply because we have access to so many more features and capabilities separate to the frames themselves since the original frame's release. Not to mention, I only started playing the game in 2019, original Ember came out well before that. So I can't give you an answer on that one. If we tried comparing 2019 modding to 2025 modding, for example, it's not just modding. We've also got the litany of additional arcanes which have been introduced all over the place, from Zaraman to Mirror Defense to the Albrecht Labs to now in 1999, all of those arcanes. We've got all of the additional mods which have been introduced. We've got the Archon shards, we've got the helmet system. You feel like a lot of frames are way behind newer frames? Maybe. Maybe. But honestly, I really can't properly compare and contrast without it being full of biases and exceptions and considerations that muddy the entire answer. I'd say don't worry about it. Use the frames which are good, don't use the frames which you don't like. If it happens to be an older frame or a newer frame, big whoop de bloody doo-dah. I main Lavos, how recent is he? Alright? He's got a goddamn prime at this point. I still main him. You can use what you want to use, really. Anyway. Let's, yeah, next one is to companion test. So let's grab just a companion. Let's make sure there's no fired up on this. Yep, no fired up on that. Good, 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 good. Let's swap this out. Actually, no, let's stick with Verglass, because Verglass is just overall good to use. I don't know what this mod config is for. Is this a non-galvanized config? Oh, it is. Okay, let's just buy a new config slot, whatever. There we go. We got cold. Let's ramp up the status chance. There we go. There we go. 97.2. That'll do just fine. Okay. So there we're getting just cold procs at the moment. As soon as I activate this, still no buff, still no buff, still no buff. And then there's the buff. There's the heat. We're seeing heat and cold being applied. Much more heat than cold. Much more heat than cold. Which is to be expected. Also, cold is capped at 4 on Xmas. We'll go to for general purpose companion. I usually use Worm Prime. It's just cozy. So, yep, that's definitely applying to the companion, and in a pretty expected manner. That's good. Okay. How that is going to work with other sources of heat, I don't even want to begin to think about that. I really don't want to think about that. Let's take off the companion again so it doesn't screw up anything else. Okay, if I apply a heat mod, what happens? We obviously get radiation on the weapon itself, but let's see about the rest of it. How well comes together. How are you doing for hit points over there? Halfway down, let's just get a new one. There we are. Okay, so at the moment, I can't land a heat proc, but I'm doing 3305 on crit, 938 non-crit. Yeah, so that is the same as what I had with the Stormbringer, it's just now radiation damage. This is good. Next, let's add in this bonus. Now, the procs without any other bonus were 251. We've got 90% from our heat mod. That's radiation, that's radiation. We should have some non-combining heat here. There it is. 1676. Was that a crit? I think I want, yeah, I want a non-crit. So now we know we definitely can get the heat. I just want to see, there we are, non-crit 476 with a 167% bonus. Well, 476, that is what we were getting with the electric booster before, but let's just verify. 251 times 1.9, 476. There it is. Okay, that's good. So, at least in that particular angle, we figured out the direction, the consistency. Even with a matching elemental mod, we're still not causing combined damage, and we're still not affecting the heat proc bonus in any way whatsoever with Temple's ability. Which is a long-winded way of saying that Temple is both buffing and nerfing you here. If you were relying on non-heat status damage, or if you were previously utilizing non-heat status damage, this will nerf your status damage. To give you an example, say you're using the Zorus, you're modded with 90% electric, so that your electric procs are 90% stronger. No, Zorus is a bad example, it has forced electric. You're using not Zorus, you're using just a melee. A normal melee that doesn't force electric. You have 90% electric modding, your electric procs, not only do they happen more often because of your electric modding, but they have a 90% bonus to their damage. If you then get buffed by a Ripper's Wail, you'll be delivering a huge amount of heat damage on top. And that heat damage will be increasing over time as Temple casts more abilities. But the heat procs you'll get from Status Chance, overriding many of your electric procs, will not have the heat bonus. So they will lose out on nearly half the damage compared to that 90% electric mod. If you're using Toxin for the 165%, it's even worse. God. Yeah, because it applies to the group. Exactly, TylerScript. That's what I'm saying. It's like, if you're modded around your your elemental modding, this can absolutely flush out your status effects whilst giving you no status damage bonus to compensate. Theoretically, would Heat Inherit probably be worse? It could be. If you've got then companions applying heat where they weren't before, if you've got people's random guns applying heat where they weren't before, those heat procs going out with no other bonus, because this is applying 0% heat proc bonus, then anyone who was relying on heat damage themselves will get inherited down to 0. Also ruin influence builds. Any influence builds that are relying on non-force electric, yes. This is a problem that DE are just going to keep on running into, and I think I actually posted on Blue Sky with a potential, not full solution, not solution for their inability to math, but a solution for abilities just getting in the way. I think I did actually post this on Blue Sky. Let me switch the screens around so you can see this. Gonna load up my Blue Sky account. How does Blue Sky allow you to just go to your own feed? Is it under... profile. Profile's how you go there. And yeah, here we are. This is what I posted. There's a variety of squad buff abilities in Warframe which unintentionally impede builds or gameplay. Nourish, overloading weapons with viral. I mean, we've had that issue for ages. Speed, causing uncomfortable movement. Imagine if you could open your pause menu and under show profile it had disable buffs for that player specifically. This, I think, is the solution that DE might end up having to implement. This might be the one, other than people just continuously going solo. Tales of a Scrub, thank you very much for subscribing with your Prime. Welcome into the channel proper, and enjoy your lovely blue sub badge. Much appreciated. Oh, much appreciated indeed. ASM, I'm surprised they didn't make those buffs entirely separate damage instances. Given how that works with things like Zarta's Whisper, that could lead to unintentionally even more damage again, due to multipliers potentially reapplying. And that comes down to DE math. That comes down to DE math. But yeah, this to me feels like the simple enough fix. And from a coding perspective, it would just be a case of when casting out the buffs, it has to determine who's a companion, who's an ally or not. And just for that moment, it goes, that's not an ally, don't give them the buffs. I'm not sure how they could code that in, to be honest. I even acknowledge, a sub-post that it's not as simple as just if true, stop buffs. It's not that simple. But this, as a broad implementation, feels like to me about the only way they can do it at this point. Dylan just saying there's an arcane that would buff you based on buffs to your party that would break it. It would have a negative impact on that, and that would say, okay, well, if you want to use that arcane, only give buffs to your party that your party want to use. If someone wants to rely on their allies receiving buffs, either pick up allies that want those buffs, or pick up buffs that allies want. Either which way, you've got to have that want in there, because one person's build should not come at the expense of someone else's. And those buffs which are overriding others are coming at that expense. The only techman say, why can't DE just make it so that these buffs apply next to what people already have instead of overriding? Okay, I mean, it's the same as what someone else said moments ago, but let me give you a full answer on that. Let me give you the full answer. Let me just re-switch things here so that doesn't break. Cool. So, you're talking about like this buff right here. If I do that, and it gives out a huge whack of heat, surely DE can make it where it would apply as separate to everything else happening with that attack there, so that it wouldn't override my status chance, sure. So do we get any heat procs at all? Now let's start asking those kinds of questions. Do we want that to apply heat procs ever? If not, then what's the point of the heat bonus if we're not going to get the heat proc bonus as well? If we can't proc heat, it might as well not be a heat bonus, it's just damage at that point. Okay, so let's make it a separate hit. It can roll its own status chance on top of your weapon doing its thing. Okay, what status chance do we use? Do we use the status chance of the weapon? Well, now we've got double dipping on status procs. We've given ourselves a literal double status output with that ability. Don't know if that was intended for the ability. Okay, let's make it where it's got its own status chance. Every ability has its own status chance. Well, first of all, that sounds like a lot of consistent inconsistencies. Second of all, what's a fair status chance to apply? Which builds are supposed to be better or worse as a result of that? And then there's the issue of DE math getting into place, which is going to lead to issues, because as we've seen with just the couple frames I've checked through today, DE's own application of these buffs leads to all kinds of weird counterintuitive natures, not least of which you've got how buffs can be double applied. For a long time, Zarta's Whisper was double applying its the damage buff from the Fenmore Latent Felarx for the non-crit 200% bonus, because it was a separate hit, therefore re-rolling it, even though it shouldn't have. And it took DE 2 years to get around and say, nah, it's a bug, we're removing it. Just out of nowhere. Ultimately, I don't know what the best solution is, just in general. But I can tell you that the solutions we currently have are not solutions. We have now a growing list of abilities where their impact on status is increasingly difficult to understand. It's like going from old school comparisons of condition overload and pressure point to now how we've got the varied implementations of galvanized aptitude across different weapons and attack types, how that can all interact and what it interacts with, and how the stacks work and how those stacks are different to galvanized scope. And we're now getting to see that kind of exception expansion when it comes to elemental damage bonuses from Warframes. And I just... oh boy. Oh boy. Whose cooking is worth? Arthur Square Spaghetti or DE? Arthur made a weird shape. DE has me wondering which recipe I'm working with at every different meal I'm cooking, to extend the metaphor. Just join the stream. Does this heat override weapon modding kind of like how Electric from Shock Trooper can mess up builds? Yes, but no. So Electric from Shock Trooper got recently fixed, so that it was now applying status damage as it should have been, except DE, in their infinite wisdom, have applied it as a status damage bonus, not as an elemental damage bonus. And even then, it's not a global status damage bonus. It is specific to that electric type, or whichever matching one. However, Ripper's Wail doesn't use that logic. It uses the previously bugged logic of just no buff whatsoever. So the answer is indeed yes and no. Also, yes, if you have 750% heat added to your otherwise electric weapon, it's now going to be mostly heat and a little bit of electric. So if you're looking to use melee influence around a temple, you better hope you're using the Zoris or other sources of forced electric procs. Lavos keeps winning. Except Lavos doesn't keep winning because the electric bonus is broken. Oh my god. Kobe Human saying standardizing all these things would be a shame and losing the build variety, but keeping them separate also come with a ton of other problems. I've no solution in mind. So standardizing them wouldn't remove build variety. It isn't build variety to say Ripper's Wail just doesn't give the bonus it should be giving. It isn't build variety to have Shock Trooper randomly give you status damage additive to global status damage, but only applicable during electric procs. That's not build variety. That's not build variety. That's just complications. You're not able to make informed, sensible decisions and choosing between features to try out different gameplay styles. You're busy scrolling through a wiki going, ah shit, does this one work? Doesn't it work? What does it mean additive to status damage during electric procs only? Like, who's electric procs? What's a heat inherit? That's not build variety. That gets people just looking up a guide on Warframe or YouTube, by the way, my guys, slotting in the mods, dealing damage and going, fuck it, it works. I don't need to learn anything anymore. Or if it doesn't work, they just give up because they don't know which part to fix. That's the problem. That's not build variety to me. That is... it's a mess. It is a genuine mess. Would it be a shame if a new potential influence glaive came out that didn't force electric? Sure, if you want to use another glaive, but that's more of a same different thing, really. Why you're asking for a guide for temple is 3 years weird and hard to understand. Now, if I'm going to take out bugs for a moment, let me talk about temple very quickly in a zero bug format. We're just going to look at temple as if everything worked as described, as showcased, as intended. Ability number 1, you point at a spot, you create flame pillars at that spot. That spot needs to be in range, otherwise it'll create them at maximum range. So it's kind of like shock. Around that spot, things burst into flames briefly. That's it. It's a damaging ability. We'll get onto synergies in a moment. This one, you just grab a cone of enemies, and I think it's line of sight, cone of enemies, they take a bit of heat damage, and now if you hit them with a weapon attack, you have absolute added crit chance. So it's kind of like Arcane Avenger, the ability. This one, hey, did you and your entire team want heat damage? Sure, now you have heat damage. Also, whilst you're casting it, you gain all your health and shields back, including overshields. No line of sight needed for 2. Interesting. Maybe I was just really bad at aiming it. Let's see you over there. Yes, burning much. And now they are. Hold on, hold on, hold on. This is getting weird. So, just verify at this distance, how far away am I? 23 meters. Hits them. Okay. At this distance, I'm less than 23 meters, so I am in range. Not hitting them. I get a line of sight. Hit them. Line of sight required. Sam Olsen, why you do that to me? Come on, why you do that to me, Sam Olsen? How about the one? Was one need line of sight? If I cast it there, maybe it's not close enough. Hits them there. Hits them there. I can't see him. Oh, need energy. You hit them many times behind walls. These implementations of line of sight continue to be played with inconsistencies. That's not a bug. That's Warframe. Is this really not going to hit them at all, even if I'm... No, it can hit them there. Okay. But like, when I aim here, it hits them. But when I aim here at the same spot, it doesn't hit them. But when I aim here, it hits them. What? Huh?
Sayonara, honey.
Someone please explain to me what's happening there. I can see them. I aim at this spot here. This very spot right here, middle of the square, hits them. I step around. I can no longer see them. I'm aiming at the same spot right there. Doesn't hit them. Hits them. Yeah, much closer. Doesn't hit them. But it's not line of sight from the frame itself, because if I aim here, hits them, because I'm hitting the back wall. But I aim here, and it doesn't hit them. But I aim here, and it hits... What the fuck is this? It's a grenade? What does it's a grenade mean, Ozzy? What do you think you mean by that when you see this? What possible response do you think that is supposed to be to us other than absolute gibberish? Both from your LOS and LOS from point of casting. All the way back here. Doesn't hit, probably because I'm out of range of the wall. Yeah. Let's get closer to the wall. Am I in range of the wall now? 29 meters. Ability range is currently 36 meters. I am in range of it now, so... And what's the explosion radius on this? What is the radius? Radius is 20 meters! The radius is 20 meters!
This beatdown goes out to you.
This guy is 45 away from me, and that point there is 28 away. So they are 17 meters apart. If I move to just here, I've still got a teeny tiny bit of line of sight, so this should hit him. And it does. And now if I go here, it doesn't. Can I test 2 in the same manner? So 2 doesn't cast in a different manner, in the same manner. It doesn't cast that way. The 2 is a cone from you, not an explosion from a point centered within range. It's a cone, not a blast. Or a burst, even. Oh, gods. Cheers for the hydrates, Salvatore. So yeah, when I aimed it here for the 1, it was exploding across and hitting them there. When I was aiming it here, I guess that's gotta be it. LOS is being checked from both the ability and the frame. If neither of them have LOS, then it doesn't hit. If there is LOS from this or the frame, then it hits.
Spotlight over here.
Double line of sight check if you see them. Frame LOS. If you can't, checks ability sense LOS. That's what you said it's grenade. Sorry, Ozzy, in what universe does a grenade check if the person who threw it can see the target? You can't just say it's a grenade and be like, yeah, that means double line of sight. What? Don't act like that's what you were communicating in the first place. Those are two separate things. Oh. This feels like dementia setting in. The person coding it, maybe. Alright, so. What is the ability range on my 2? It is currently set to 29 meters. I am within 29 meters.
On my cue, mess
Yep,
up.
that's only 20 meters away. So if I cast from here, it should hit. Oh, look at that. It hit. But if I drop down here and aim at that spot, it's still a cone from me. So aiming at that spot should not make it hit, and it doesn't hit. And if I just point in its direction, it doesn't hit. But if I jump, it hits. Because I had LOS for a moment. DA, what the fuck are you doing?
Anyone else see what I'm seeing?
Why would they make it go through walls only when you can see past the wall?
Flair thinks we should investigate.
Why? Just make it AoE at that point.
Do you see?
It's... Okay. So yeah. It's AoE, which will bypass obstacles if you can see the target. I suppose is this how they've got around little obstacles blocking AoEs that are supposed to be line of sight? Is this how they've done it? Holy sh... Okay, I take it back. That's actually kind of smart, but at the same time infuriating if you're trying to tell if something is line of sight or not. Because it's kind of smart when you think about it. It's got an LOS check from the ability, but to make up for you, say, casting it towards them, but some corpse blocks the shot, or some tiny little railing, rather than that happening, it also checks from your frame and goes, well, come on, you could see them. So if I cast this, I need to aim somewhere where I can see them, but I'm out of range of them, I think. Yeah, this is out of range. If I aim here, it checks the AoE and the distance. So it doesn't matter about the line of sight. It checks the distance and says, yep, it's out of range. But if I cast it there, it hits. And if I cast it on the inside of this... Oh, I have no energy. It hits. That's how they've done it. Okay, god fucking damn, right. So they want it to be an LOS ability, but if you can see the enemy, they're considered in LOS for the ability. But the ability is still centered where you pointed it. So it can bypass terrain only if you can see past that terrain yourself. If neither you nor the ability can see past the terrain, then it can't work. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that is... It's not logical. It's gameplay. Around cursor? Not around cursor, no Meljade. Not around cursor. Because I can make it happen when I'm not even remotely looking at them. Oh, here's a question. Does it hit if I'm looking... If I zoom in? Oh god. Okay, there it hit. There it hit. Yep, they're burning. Let's wait for the burning to run out. There we go. So now, zoom in. They're not in LOS. No, it did hit them. Okay, good. Thank God for that. If it was based on the FOV of your gun, I would have lost it. What happens if I just turn down my own FOV? Okay, yeah, let's do that. Oh, well, that's horrible. No, so there is a hard-coded FOV that it checks. There is a hard-coded FOV. I don't know what it is, but there is one. It's probably going to be max FOV, so 90. I mean, I don't think we can set our own. No, so it's probably hard-coded to max FOV. Well, if I'm looking just somewhere else entirely, well, I mean... I need to hit behind cover to test that. I also need energy. That hit them. But is that because it... well, I mean... I suppose... No, wait. No, wait. It did say in the tip section... pyrotechnics will detonate in a radius from where you're currently aiming. The heat pillars can reach behind Temple if your target is close by. Jesus. Okay, so... So is it... It might be 360. It might just be 360. Hold on, let me get some hella how could I do this? How could I test this? Let me think. Let me think. What I want is to be looking away from the target. No. What am I trying to think about here at this point? Oops. That hit them. That hit them. I mean, we're at a considerable distance here. I'm gonna guess that it's just 360. I think it is just 360. So if either you have line of sight and they're in range of it, or the Origin has line of sight to them within range. Yeah, so if they're in range and you or your ability have line of sight to them, it hits. That's what it's doing. If in range of ability and line of sight to you or your ability, then it hits. It does not care about FOV. It does not care about direction. It is just LOS check on you or ability and range check on ability. That's what it's asking. So we hit there because we have line of sight. If I use the leg of this statue, I can't hit it. If I use the leg of this statue, I can't hit it. What if I crouch? Or is that... There. Can I hit it now? No. Can I hit it now? 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 Yes. What? How much leg is required to block it? I need more energy. Would it hit if I switch my POV from behind the leg? Ooh, oh, clever, clever. So, here, not hit. Here, hits. Oh my God. I mean, I know you can do that with guns. You can see how my aim shifts from left side to right side of that block over there, but... Oh man, that's... Oh dear. So if I turn my camera, because my camera's orbiting flare, is there a point where I can... Is that too far out of range? I think they're all too far out of range for that to work. I might... If I... jank it like this, hit the slope there... No, it's too far out of range. How would I want to do that? Oh, I'm out of energy again. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that. You're seeing the main point. You're seeing the main point. So, basically, if your camera has line of sight, regardless of FOV, if your camera has line of sight to it, or the ability itself has line of sight, and the ability would be within range of the target, then target gets hit. Jesus. So it is LOS, but... And then this one is just from yourself, so it's always just... let's see, if I can... So, can I... I can't see it here, but I think Temple should. Doesn't hit. But it does hit there. Okay. So this one is just camera LOS. The 2 is just camera LOS. Because again, if I do that, doesn't hit. Doesn't hit. Hits. Because my camera just about has LOS on it there. Just the tippy top of his head. Yeah, there it doesn't. There it does. Wow, that is so close. There it's hitting. There it stops. It is literally camera LOS. Okay. Yeah. I would say, oh wait, can you stand back to the wall in front of the enemy and cast on your feet? Does it hit? If not, you can you aim high? You're in range, but point is not. No. If I just cast on my feet, it will hit them. Because casting here, if I do that and cast there, it's got LOS, so it'll hit it. But if I jump down here and cast, it doesn't have LOS, so it won't hit it. Because it's not burning at the moment. Still not burning. But if I do it here, burning. There you are. Ellie said, 1 is censored across air, 2 is censored on you. No, the 2 is not censored on you. That's what I just demonstrated over here, Ellie. You've got that wrong. I don't know whether you're still typing whilst I proved that wrong, but I stood by this wall where Temple has line of sight. That's at you. But the camera did not have LOS. Gotta be very clear about that. It's not Warframe LOS, it's camera LOS on the 2. Which also means if I then do the opposite, I hide the frame but not the camera. Like so. This should hit. And it does. Frame is hidden, camera is not. That's the LOS. Whew, alright. Damn. If you do first option but aim above the enemy where it can see outside of casting range, hit even to impact it away of your frame. What? Adam, are you asking will it hit if I aim at its statue head but stand in front of the wall? Oh, no, because it's out of range. Look. There it is. Not burning. Still not burning. Still not burning. Because that's too far away. The first ability is a projected ability, and then it AoEs. It's like firing an instant rocket. The rocket explodes over there, but the rocket decides if the explosion can hit or not based on if it can see the target, or you can see the target. If one of those two things are true, even just a teeny tiniest bit of the hitbox, and the hitbox I think extends just a little bit up here, then it hits. Okay. It's not just camera LOS, but yeah. My word, the shenanigans involved in this. Okay, so we figured out the LOS working on these two. They are LOS abilities, but they're using new LOS. I'm going to just call it new LOS. I don't know when or how or why it was implemented, so for simplicity's sake, I'm going to call it new LOS to make it clear to people it's not the LOS you may have known or believed in before now. Is there anyone who's got an issue with me calling it new LOS? Because I think that should just communicate it fine. As long as I explain what new LOS is in a video. New as in N-E-W. I don't do that new stuff like N-U crap, no. Sounds like a tagline of a bombastic 2000 movie. Well, perfect. We're 1999 glam rocking in with our new LOS. Is Zata's Whisper good on Nova? Depends on your build, mate. The question's incomplete. It depends on your build. Depends on the setup. Depends on the weapons. Depends on the mission. Not sure it's new. It's back in Dante, I think, after first nerf. Zom. New enough. Okay? New enough. When I have to point out to myself, let alone others, how this explosion can happen behind a wall and hit or not hit depending on where the Warframe is, that's still new LOS. That's still new. I'm not trying to get a phrase of LOS based on Dante so that people who didn't pay attention to patch notes can go back and verify precisely when it happened and jerk off to the wording of it. I'm going for, hey, viewer who doesn't fully understand LOS, this isn't the LOS you think it is. I'm calling it new to bring your attention to it. Sometimes communications like that's on. Besides, can you tell me the exact update number off the top of your head right now? No looking it up. If you can't, it's not useful to communicate it. Have I tried the code of dual pistols? No. Okay, so fiery pillars that use new LOS on a projected burst. Crit enhancing speakers that deal a little bit of heat damage, no proc, using new LOS camera only. Heat bonus applying to allies, companions. The heat bonus has a cap that doesn't change with stats, but it has stat-based growth to how long you have to cast to get there, or how many casts it takes to get there. It's within affinity range. That's just affinity. It's within affinity range, is it? It's within affinity range. Do I have a volunteer? I would like just one volunteer to join me in a couple missions. You online now, Ellie? Alright. Let's have a looky-loo here. There you are. Legendary 5, you hardcore grinder. Okay, Ellie, let's pop ourselves into good old Plains of Eidolon. We'll make it not steel path, just so nothing like murks you. Now, as much as you have got your own temple, please don't activate your abilities. Please do not. A bit of teaser thingamajig from nature thing. Okay, so first thing I want to check is, Ellie, do you see this bonus appear on your HUD? Have you got a 178 bonus on your HUD at the moment? Yes, excellent. Okay, if you teleport to the other side of the map, does it instantly remove it or does it decay on you? So it's removed from my screen. Let's see. Instant. Okay, cool. Teleport back to here, please. So despite the ability being a decay from ourselves, it's instant application. So now, Ellie, I would like you to just walk in a straight line that way until the buff vanishes. So keep a good eye on it. Just go until the buff vanishes. There we are, it's gone. Alright, can you put a mark on your location, please? 50 odd meters. Now, Ellie, do you notice another symbol next to my name on the information bar? When buff has vanished? Yeah, let's re-up that. My bad. There we are. It's back again. Don't worry about it. Yep. Still affinity. Exactly. Welcome to my complaint about affinity range abilities. We are within affinity range. We are not within affinity range. All affinity abilities do this. If I do that, it's on. I do that, it's off. I do that, it's on. I do that, it's off. Yeah. Is it worth testing the funny affinity range flares? I don't know if I actually have any equipped. No. But I'm going to assume that they work because they work with other affinity range abilities. So yes, affinity range isn't affinity range unless there's affinity range. There is a base affinity range, yes, and some things that buff affinity range do not buff affinity range. They only buff affinity range. If this sounds at all confusing, it's not my job to make it less confusing, DE. But we have one other test. Ellie, come with me. What does the heat damage bonus count from? I don't understand the question, sorry. Alright, let's pop ourselves into Iota Temple. What number it uses for the math, I mean. What? The innate damage or final damage? For the heat bonus, it's an elemental modded bonus, additive with other elemental mods. So that's how it works. Yo! What's that one?
Oh, look, a hoodie. Let me just yank.
Nice! Esprit's picked themselves up a brand new hoodie from the merch store. Esprit, thank you very much for that, and I hope you enjoy that as when it comes through. Cheers! Oh. Cheers indeed. Anyone else curious as to where you get that from? That is, of course, exclamation mark merch. Can the 3 be combined with other elements? No. It is a non-combining heat bonus. If you have electric and radiation modded onto your weapon to give it combined radiation, and then you apply further heat from Temple, you will not gain more radiation. You will now have separately radiation and heat. It does not combine even if you already have combined that element. Will not combine. Okay, so, Ellie, if you could please activate your Temple 3. There we are. I see I've got a 381% bonus. That's one hell of a bonus right there. I'm going to pop on out. Are we still in affinity range? Yes. Do I get the bonuses? No. Let me head on into a cruise ship real quick. Same as Shock Trooper, but different. Okay, I am still within affinity range. I do not get the benefit. It is affinity range, it is not affinity range. So anything that increases the infinity range for the mission does not increase the range of the ability, but things which increase the range of affinity range that isn't mission-wide, those do buff up the range of it. Because if I switch to Vazarin now, let's abort this mission and switch to Vazarin. It'll work. You have no idea if affinity range is such a mess? Yeah. Yeah. New ability to show how much you're buffing allies. That's the thing, Rishendo. I'm going to be making a full guide on this once I've worked out exactly how to communicate these bits. Could it be because I entered a vehicle? But it was also when I was on foot, and then it came back the moment I came back in range on foot. So it's not with regard to that. Is there anything else in missions besides Railjet at the bottom of Affinity Range? Open worlds, yes. Hence why we went to an open world just moments ago. Alright. So, let's switch this over now to Vazarin. Reason being, Mending Unity increases affinity radius. By 25. Affinity radius. not range. Okay, that's the smallest of inconsistencies at this point. Well, you just want to go Valorant? No, stay Naramon, please, Ellie. Stay Naramon. If anything, that's going to create an even more interesting check. So we're going to once go down to the plains of Eidolon. We're going to once again go down there, and we're going to do the same whole 50 meter, 75 meter thing. Now, I'm curious if I could still give the buff at long range, and if I could perhaps receive a buff at long range as well. This could be curious. Let's load in. Alright. First things first, let's give Ellie the buff. There you go. Nice, big, expensive buff. I mistimed it. Please take yourself out until you no longer receive the buff. Once you do, put down a marker. Feel good? Ah, it's gone. And look at that, that is 80 meters away. If I step slowly towards them, there we are. It pops on at 75, so it is indeed increasing it here on the open world as expected. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this buff now. I think the fastest way is to just throw myself into some water. This is probably the longest way towards water, but it's fine. I'm just going to keep myself in. It's just quicker. Bye! There we are. And that's apparently expired the entire buff. It didn't go down slowly there. It just wiped it. Furious. Okay. This time, Ellie, please cast your buff. Takes a couple seconds for it to kick in. It's kicked in. 381. I'm going to travel this way. Oh, it's run out already. No. So increasing the affinity range on myself increases the range of my abilities, but it does not increase the range I pick up the buff from others. It only affects my projection, not their projection. Oh. Also, yes, I have to ask Ellie, do you have an invigoration on your temple at the moment? A helm of invigoration. Yeah, there we are. That's where the huge amount of strength is coming from, y'all. That and the rest of the body, but that's 200% straight up there, which adds 150% to the bonus. So that currently... Oh, it's decaying. Yeah, that 381 would normally be 231, I want to say. Yeah, 231. So yeah. Then we get nullified if you lose your buff. Everyone on your team instantly loses it. It's an aura. Let's think, it decays over time when the ability expires, but it looks like things that remove the ability for it to decay. Let's test that further. Ellie, thank you very much for your assistance on testing the affinity range. That's going to be all that we need your assistance on. Enjoy yourself the rest of the stream as we smash our heads into the wall of this over and over and over and over and over and over again. Ooh. I think when I do the guide to Temple, I'm going to break it up into how it works and how it doesn't work. I think that's going to be the only fair way of doing this. So I will cover the basic functionalities, I will talk about them, ignoring any bugs or weirdness, and then I'll talk about the bugs and weirdness. And to be honest, new line of sight is working as intended, so those two are fine to talk about. It's mostly just affinity range being affinity range, and heat elemental bonuses here just being an absolute travesty. Has Lizzie caused any despair yet? Have only just got to that ability. We've only just got there. Because yeah, that is everything on Ripper's Whale. It is now time to look at this Exalted Solo. It is now time to look at this Exalted Solo. So the backbeat bonus on this one is simply no energy consumed. That's very, very nice. Rather than ultimate level casting cost, although it's only 75 instead of 100, instead of ultimate level casting cost, instead of 50% efficiency or something like that, it just completely removes the cost, which is nice. Speaking of, I haven't yet double checked if 50% efficiency is additive or multiplicative. Let's check that real quick. I haven't actually tested that. I'm assuming it's additive, but I just didn't verify.
Where would the sanctuary be without you?
You're running 308% strength? Fair enough, that's quite a bit of strength, yeah. That is quite a bit of strength. What was I running on my default build at the moment? After just some little testing? I was running 223, so 85% below yours, but I was also leaning into some other stats as well. Okay. So, how much energy do I use? I'm at 135. When I cast it without the bonus, I've gone down to 96. That's fine. If I cast it with the bonus, 96 went down to 70, so it cost me 26 energy. That's additive to ability efficiency. That's cool. That's working as I'd expect. Thank goodness for that. If it straight up halved the cost, I would have been a little annoyed, to be honest. But no, it's just plus. There's no point running Temple with high efficiency, so I'm not even going to test what happens if you're at max efficiency. Just don't do that. There's no point doing it. There's enough energy generation options and hitting on the backbeat that you just don't need to do that. Okay, let's see then. Lizzie's stats. Lizzie's base stats. We get those to begin with. There we are. You've got 35% crit chance, 35% status chance, 2.3 times critical multiplier. It's got a pretty standard fire rate for a flamethrower of 8, beam range of 10, which is actually quite low, by the way. High accuracy because it's a beam. Trigger held because it's a beam. Max charge is 275. Does it say how many charges it uses when you fire the other bits? No, okay. If any. Base damage isn't accurate, you got strength. True, yeah. That is being multiplied by strength. Actual base damage is that divided by 2.79, I guess? 236.9 divided by 2.79. 85? Is it 105? What? Or is 105 with no modding? .106.2, but yeah, that looks to be the no modding. Because 106.2 divided by 1.25, 85, yeah. Base damage is 85 and then multiplied by the multiplier. Because, why is it? Why is it times 1.25 at all? Because Wiki says 97.8. Oh, for goodness sake. Okay, why does the wiki say 97.8, seeing as that is neither of the numbers that we are seeing here? Why is it missing the just damage number off the ability? Okay, let's spawn only Xmas. Let's get a couple charges, activate this freely, wait for that to run out. Let's make the damage numbers big. Alright then. If I just beam at you, I'm seeing 106 non-crit. 106. If I tap fire, I get much lower because of how beams work. Beams take a moment to power up, which is mildly frustrating. But yeah, we get 106 max. 97.8 is not going to be the ability on that basis, because damage multiplier of 1.25 would not line up with being 97.8 for what we've just seen. As we're saying, skill ranks of 1 times 1.08, 1.15, 1.25. That doesn't make sense still though, Esprit. We don't have this ability here saying damage is multiplied by some number as well. This one says it's damage. This one does not. Why? Why can't it not just say the damage? Other exalted weapons also just have the damage there. Is it simply affected by strength, or is it something else? Let's see. If I get blind rage, do I nearly double that, making it 2.5, or nearly 2.5? Yes, I do. So it is straight linear with strength. And if I run that now, I'm going to see a little over 200 damage with this target over here, aren't I? Get the charge. Activate the thing. Wait for the ticks of fire to go away. Maxing out at 211. Yep, exactly what I was expecting. What's Mending Soul? It allows me to revive people instantly. It's part of Azarin. You think other Exalteds have had this change as well? Okay, let's have a look. Avara. It has the damage on there. Esper, you're full of shit. Oh boy. Literally the first one I check. Alright then, so yeah, it is just hiding the base damage number behind a damage multiplier that for some reason is at 1.25 when it could just state the damage number. So that's nice. Does that mean that it multiplies with something awkwardly? Maybe. If I put in pure damage, is it going to scale badly with that, just like it does with Mesa? Oh, it might do. Oh, it might do. 278.8, 278.8 times 2.65 would expect 738, but this is 4. It's a Mesa situation. Oh no. Oh no. Why? Okay, so it's additive. Strength is additive to pure damage. Well, the final multiplier given by strength is additive to pure damage. I just... Alright, okay. If it applies... at least it doesn't appear to be applying strength twice or anything like that. Because Mesa's math is really off the charts bonkers. I hate Mesa stuff, but yeah. So strength is a serration. Yeah, it both is and isn't. It's additive to that same line of things, yeah. Okay, which means that this I was messing with previously. This and this, oh my god. Well, that can come off of there then. Which gives us room to put something else V on there, I suppose, but like... Oh boy. Job done. Use Bane mods. If you don't like Bane mods, me neither. I am losing my sanity over this. I mean, still, why not just put the number on here? The base damage anyway. Why not just put the number on there? Would it kill them? Apparently so. Alright, Ridiculous said, looked at this yesterday, it seemed worse if 3 Exalteds used a multiplier, Peacemaker, Neutralizer, and Lizzie. Fair enough. And yes, they still use it differently anyway. Does Aptitude work properly on Lindsay? Someone just had to ask that question, didn't they? Someone just had to ask the question. I don't blame you. It's a question that D have left us having to answer. Oh. Music do I like? Good music. And yes, it is exactly as subjective as it sounds. Okay. Alt fire damage is... Let me see here. Normal damage on this, 236.9. Alt fire damage, 278. So yeah, the alt fire damage is low, very low crits, lower crit multiplier. I'm not going to care about the damage on the alternate fire. It's just low. It's just low. You're not going to use that for damage. Gun exhaust is consistent with each other. I'm not even going to give that one a proper answer. Because they're not, for starters. Mesa acts differently to Neutralizer straight up, so no, they're not. Also, Balefire. So just no. Don't try and draw lines of consistency with DE. They don't have them. They just don't. Alright then. Let's see what damage bonus I get from this. I'm going to need to have an Exalt. Not Exalt. I'm going to need to have a strong target, which I have. And I'm going to need a weak one that I can just marmalize. Let's have a weak 4 of them so I can try a few stacks. There we go. Okay. Shoot, I need to charge this up first. Well, you're all gonna die. Thanks for perishing, suckers. Alright then. Grab that energy off that thing, why not? Thank you very much. Bam. So, full power at the moment. Reaches. Oh, it just killed him. Okay, we're now at 277 with 1 aptitude. And with 2 aptitude. 311. 277 to 311. Where's my notepad gone? Okay, so that's 1 proc and 2 proc of aptitude with 1 proc on the target. Aptitude is still running down. I can't tell how many charges I have left on this. It might not be enough. I do dislike that it says Lizzie has infinite ammo when it doesn't. Alright, and now... Oh, nope, I ran out. There we are. Charge off of them. What do you mean ability not ready? I just killed them with... I must have done it at the wrong time. There we go. So with no charges on aptitude, damage dealt is maxing out at 243. There we go. So 277 by 243, increase of 34. 277 plus that, 311, so it's consistent. It's 34 per stack. I have an impetus stack? It's irrelevant. Genuinely irrelevant here. Because impetus is going to be giving rounding error increase 1 stack on that. So this went up from 243 rather than, yeah, that'll be the strength bonus, but that was applying all the way through. So 277 minus 243, it was 34 bonus. 34 over 243 was an increase of only 14%. Not the 40% this is advertising. Which, if we go through here, if we instead divide 243 by 2.79 and then take 40% of that, we get the amount it increased. Alright. Yeah. So galvanized aptitude is also additive with the strength. Very much so. Right. Okay. So this is effectively applying a 179% serration at all times with my current strength. That's still worth using with Merciless, but given the way that status comes out of Temple, I would say that Galvanized Aptitude is probably a bad idea. Because also considering what other arcanes can be used with Lizzie. On ability cast reload speed, irrelevant. On Toxin status effect, you're probably not going to be using Toxin. Irrelevant. On weak point hit with a flamethrower, and again for status chance and ammo efficiency, basically irrelevant. Deadhead, it's a flamethrower. Dexterity, you want to be using a flamethrower, not meleeing. Frostbite, it's a goddamn flamethrower. Merciless is seeming like the good shout. Plated rounds doesn't apply, and that's the ranks of arcanes. This obstruct I didn't talk about. On weapon magnetic, well, it's not really helpful, so I'm just going to say no. Exhilarate on weapon impact, definitely no. Yeah, I just feel like the Merciless is probably the way. Frostbite works surprisingly well with the alt fire. God, how much do you want to be spamming the alt fire on that? Gives you crit damage and multi-shot versus stacking up the Merciless. Frostbite is easy to charge from companions. I keep forgetting that companions charge that one. Because consistency. Because companions don't charge the toxin one, do they? I don't think they do the toxin one. Actually, you know what? I can just quickly test that. Alright. Yeah, we'll just leave that on. Let's go for a quick little blast on here just to go low modding. Just remove the cold. Then we can go toxin. Let's overload it with the toxin, so it should apply a fair amount. There we go, it just gives us a charge. Use this. Loads and loads of toxins. Not seeing anything being applied to the weapon. But if we switch the modding on this... Ah. Oh, not the hammer. Damn it. Get rid of you lot. Now it's just cold again. Go back to Lizzie. Switch that out for Frostbite. I'm going to need new enemies so I can recharge. There we go. And sure enough, yep, it's charging. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? Okay. You can charge it without enemies. Ability currently not ready. That you can. I'm thinking of the bonus to the 3, aren't I? I got tripped up on that. That's what it is. If you want to improve and recharge the 3, you need to hit enemies. If you just want to get your 4 out, you don't need to hit enemies. Yeah. Alright. God damn it. That throws me off each time. Because they look identical, don't they? They look near enough identical, but this one just goes, I'm going to cheat. I want to not be stressed about this. Let me be very frank about this. I want to not be stressed about this. I want to be nice and cheery and happy and just work with what works and go out and enjoy the game. But if I wanted to just run and gun, I'd be playing Call of Duty. If I wanted to just blow things up, I would pick a game where you just blow things up. A big part of Warframe for me has always been the modding system, where we can tweak the details, where we can dial things up to 11 in our own chosen way. And things like this, where it's, for all intents and purposes, the same thing, it isn't actually the same thing. That just... It's the equivalent of when you're falling to sleep, you're about to drift off, and then you suddenly get a sensation of falling, your body jolts you awake. It's like that, but for gaming. It's like going through the kitchen, thinking you know where everything is, but it turns out someone left a drawer slightly further open. muscle memory gets in the way, you slam your elbow or shin into the drawer or door, whatever's ajar. That's how it feels. It's no big deal, you get over it. But when it keeps happening, you get a little bit pissed. Tells I wouldn't play the game if others weren't doing the head and leg work. Yeah. Ignorance is bliss. Certainly in this case, yeah. Certainly in this case. Yo! Welcome on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Those of you who just come over from Nightmare there. Thank you very much for the raid. Hope you've had yourself a wonderful stream. We're in the midst of practically dying looking through all of the weirdy schmeardiness that exists within Temple and anything connected to them. And dear God, is there a lot of it. So if you are down for a stream of Ken losing his mind, you're in the right place today. Oh, you are absolutely in the right place today. Thank you very much there, Agia, putting the shout out for Nightmare Frame. If you haven't already checked out Nightmare, they also smash their head into mechanics, but I think in a slightly more coherent fashion than myself, certainly a lot of times. I just lose all sanity. I'll be quite honest, I lose all sanity on this sometimes. Welcome on in. Aren't all my streams about losing my mind? Life of an engineer? Not always. Sometimes I take a moment to chill and recover. And then we get back to it, yes. Then we get back to just the pain. Like, Nightmare, I don't know if you're able to stick around for a moment. If you need to run off, that's absolutely fine. But otherwise, if you are able to stick around, I wonder how much you've explored the problems with the heat damage on Ripper's Whale, or how much you might be aware as to how line of sight works on pyrotechnics. I wonder if you're familiar with either of those. How much you've tested that yourself. I'll be honest, I've done the majority of that testing here today on stream and just leveled them up, didn't test. Fair enough. Alright, in which case, you know what, I'll just give you one thing. Rather than going into one big explanation, I'll just give you one thing to bake your noodle with. You see? No, companion, no, busy, doing things, companions, kindly. Fuck off. There we are. Okay, it was just doing what I told it to, it's fine. Alright, you ready, Nightmare? You see that enemy? I'm going to cast right here. Bam! They're in range. Yep, they took the damage. Excellent. Good stuff. Now I'm going to aim at the same spot. I hit them. I don't hit them. I run out of energy. But you get the point. You hopefully get the point. I hit them. I hit them. I do not. No hit. Hit. Yeah. It's part of that ability as well. And then there's the fact that Ember's Fireball Frenzy Augment to give you heat damage on your weapons, and it's given to your allies as well, will amplify the status damage of heat damage procs by amplifying the status damage because it's additive to status damage on the weapon. But Ripper's Whale, despite acting in a similar manner of giving heat damage to you and your allies, applying to your weapons, will not increase the status damage of heat procs in any way whatsoever. So wait, camera swapping from shoulder to shoulder would let you wallbang enemies. Yes. You can already do that with gunshots. So like if I... this isn't really a good place to demonstrate, is it? Yeah, this isn't a good place to demonstrate that. Can I aim from over here? Yeah. So you see at the moment I would have to step out of cover. You do that. I'm in cover. So you could already do that with weapons. But it turns out that also works on abilities. Like that. They can't see me, but I'm hitting that one there and hitting them. Alright, Nightmare, you take care. Have yourself a good one. And thank you very much for the raid there. Much appreciated. That feels weird. There we are. Oh, gods. Yeah. So... oh, man. Alright, so... quick recap. This uses new LOS with a projected ability that'll check the LOS from either you or the ability, and if the target is within range. If it is, then it can happen. This one also uses new LOS, but it's only from your camera. It doesn't care about anything else, and is otherwise a 100-degree cone. How do you switch shoulders on console? No idea, sorry. This one will apply a heat damage bonus to you, allies, and companions within affinity range. Affinity range is actually a 50-meter fixed range, which can be increased with a couple of things. That is going to be Vazarin's Mending Unity ability, makes it 75 meters, and Phosphor Flares we've yet to test, but I'm currently assuming also work with it. Things that do not work with it are your allies using Mending Unity. That doesn't count. Being on the open world, which triples affinity radius, but does not triple the range of this ability, and being in Railjack, which makes you have infinite ability range, but again, sorry, affinity range, but again does not affect this. Yeah. On top of that, the heat damage that it gives you is additive to elemental bonuses. However, it's non-combining with elemental bonuses, even if you already have heat modded onto the weapon. It's completely separate as part of the same hit. In addition to that, this will overwhelm your status proc, so if it's all the way up at the cap of 750%, unless you've got an incredible status chance or elemental distribution for other things on your weapon, you're going to be applying a hell of a lot of heat procs and just heat procs a lot of the time. Despite applying those heat procs, you might hope at least it'll give you the 750% heat damage bonus, and you would be wrong. That 750% bonus gives you 0 bonus to status damage. 0. And if you want to know why that's such a bad thing, I just want you to remember 2 very important words you may have come across before now. Heat Inherit. Heat Inherit will absolutely be a thing with these status procs being thrown out by you, your allies, your companions as a result of Ripper's Wail. It is unavoidable. You cannot escape the buff. You can only outrange it. Mr. Sound Prime saying, oh wow, didn't know you streamed or watched a lot of your videos. Hey, welcome on into the streams. Hope you enjoy the mental breakdowns that come with trying to figure out the coherent guides that come over onto the YouTube channel. And to top it off, we have Exalted Solo, which has a hidden base damage, but there is a damage multiplier. That damage multiplier scales directly with your strength. Nice and simple stuff. As for how it scales with other buffs, it is exactly additive to both Serration and Galvanize Aptitude. Which means then that if you were to apply Serration to an already 2.79 times damage multiplier, you're not going to increase that by 165%, you'll get less than double damage overall. The more strength you have, the less important pure damage bonuses will be. Yeah. Blue Knight say, everyone keeps assuming the first off thing that's bad, hitting the first hit for millions. If you use Arcane Hotshot and Power Ramp and then cast 3, then alternate the 2 and 1, one will red crit. Sorry, let me break down all the stuff you've just said there. So, first of all, Arcane Hotshot. It's 2 words. Hot shot. Got it. Okay, Arcane Hotshot. Gain 1% weapon critical chance for 10 seconds when using abilities with heat status effects on mass from enemies. Okay, so I don't see how that crits the 1. It shouldn't crit the 1, should it? There's no way that should crit the 1. I mean, it's easy enough to test. Easy enough to test. Alright. Not a crit. Not a crit. Didn't see any critting happen there. We're all the way up at that 50% bonus now. First is not a weapon. I know the first is not a weapon. I am responding to someone who claimed that it would. Blue Knight saying, I don't know, but it seems to work. I'm going to go with you don't know. The crit could come from the third. It could be. In fact, it probably should be. Let's reload that there. Make them full level again. I did lower the butchers. You're saying it does, and I'm saying you are wrong. You can't just come in and say one thing, and then, I don't know, I guess it works. The thing you said was wrong. Let's get the crit bonus from this. Considerable lack of crits noticed.
They're gone.
Absolute lack of crits. Okay. Let's get something stronger. These things have such damage attenuation. It should work. And this one is not vulnerable to heat. Now, until I clear the shields, we're not going to see if we crit or not, but, well, we should just see if the damage numbers explode. Oh, out of energy. Hold on. You don't see the point of hard shot either way? Not my question right now. Well, definitely nothing to do with the 3. So let's try the 2, shall we? The 2 is on him, so as soon as we crack the shields, we should see something. Oh, out of energy, never mind. Out of energy again. I mean, I'm doing the best that I can here to try and make it happen, but I'm that guy. I'm not going to ask what you're smoking. I'm just going to wonder if you maybe mistook your companion damage. Because companion damage shows up for you. That's the only thing I can think of.
Be done.
Yeah. I'm just not seeing what you were seeing. In the slightest. Can I have a Bombard Xmas? It'll probably still die quickly. Just in case it's a Demolisher thing. Not millions. Not critting. Yeah. Might have seen Lizzie's damage numbers. I would hope that someone using Lizzie knows they're using Lizzie. But whatever... Whoever was hit... Blue Knight. Wasn't using Lizzie when it was happening. Alright. Blue Knight, go back to the drawing board. Figure it out for yourself. You are the one experiencing it. You're the one seeing something happen. So you go back and have a look as to what it is you were doing that made it happen. I've just followed up the very description you gave as to what might have worked. You yourself said you don't know. I've given you as much as I dare give you on this one. It's not critting. You can tell me it's critting, it's not. Alright, hotshot off of there. They were also using power ramp, which is basically irrelevant because it's just strength gain. Basically irrelevant to that one. If that's what's causing it, that's a bug. Okay. So, damaging pillars, it applies a bunch of heat damage and then just takes up from there. There is the potential for multi-hit. Lizzie takes primary arcanes, correct. There is a potential for multi-hit, but yeah. Let me bring those damage numbers back down again in terms of size. There we go, let's just make them small, compact them as well. Is Archon Vitality worth it on Temple? I would say yes. In almost every circumstance I can think of, yes, because more heat procs is good, right? I don't see a circumstance where the answer could possibly be no for Temple. Where would you not want that, you know? Alright, how many hits are we going to get here? Oh, that was like 5 different hits, it looked like. Must have been 6, actually, because we got 12 procs. There we got 5 procs. Let's wait for those to tick through. Yep, 6 hits, because 12 procs. That's applying a fair amount of harm. That is applying a fair amount of harm right there, absolutely. Now, out of curiosity, when I cast this, I'm getting procs in it. Oh, I've taken off the overguard. The overguard is better to test against. Let's just fix his face.
Bang, bang.
There we are. See, perfectly healthy. Nothing weird happened. This is the same enemy as before. Totes. Nothing dangerous or lethal happened. Anyway, currently when I cast that, we get a bunch of pillars. They're taking about 11k damage from 10k from 10 procs, so it's about 1k damage per proc. If I cast this, will that buff up the pillars? Interesting. I'm getting 27k from 16 procs. But that wasn't buffing up weapons. That wasn't buffing up weapons. Do that again. 8 procs, doing 9k. Oh, that's a lot lower than the previous amount. Hang on, wait, what? No, hang on. Now it's back to where I expected, but I've got more heat bonus. Maybe there was a fluke. Maybe there was a fluke or something weird going on. That's 18k on 12. You know what? Maybe there's rounding. I am using compact numbers. Yeah, no, I don't think the 3 is actually boosting it. I don't think the 3 is boosting it. I had 16 at that time. I'm aware. I did say that, Smolson, but thank you. I think it is a rounding of trying to use compact numbers, and this is why I usually don't use them when testing. I was trying to be able to see more of what's going on. Yeah, there it is. That's the one. Oh, what I would give for a proper damage readout. Just reactivate this. Okay. So non-compact numbers, we're seeing 4461 on 4 procs. Yeah, it's 1.115 per proc. Yeah. Which is consistent there at 10. We'll overload them with 16. 27,481. No, that's too much still. That's too... Hang on. Hang on.
One down.
Well, procs. 13,381. 12 by 12. 1115 per proc. Okay. 6. Now we got 6, but we're 11,451. Which would be 1908 per proc. No. No. Okay, 12 procs, 22,501, I think I said. 1875. Nope. 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 I am utterly perplexed with this one. Okay, so 13,741 for 12 procs is 1145. 145? So 115 earlier. Okay, sure. Now if I redo it, now we're getting 16,031 from 14. which is 1145 again. Okay. Yeah, and 16 procs for 18321. 1145, so that's consistent against this one. Okay. 1145 damage per proc. Which, considering the ability is dealing 2290, we're getting exactly half that, which is what heat should be doing. I should only ever see that. Ever. I shouldn't see anything else. 6 procs, 6691. That's 1115. Although Arctic Xmas strong against heat? I mean, it's not much of a strength. Did it hit out? That's only like 3% different. 14 procs for 16031. Back to 1145. Yeah, it's back to 3 time. I don't know why I'm not getting consistent results on the one in the first place, but now we cast this 10 hits, 11451. You don't need a calculator to do that. That is 1145 per proc. So it's not gotten higher. But if I cast again, 12 procs, 13741, 13741 divided by 12, still 1145. Why was I getting higher numbers earlier? And why am I still not getting consistent numbers here? Four procs, 4581, 1145, good, okay, I guess. Yeah, no, 1145 is good, that is correct. Let's double hit them. 20 procs, 22901, that's correct. What was happening earlier? 12 procs, 1371. I'm lost. I'm so lost. Why did... Could the pillars have fall off? Oh dear god. But no, we were getting more damage per proc than we should, not less. So if it was fall off, we'd see less damage per proc, because a proc would apply, but with less power behind it. But I saw the opposite. There was too much power. That's what was happening. Yeah, this one's got no Waveguard left. Do I have a second impetus stack? It wouldn't be that much of an effect, because impetus doesn't give you that amount of strength. But for any sake, let's take Arcane Impetus off, because yeah, look, it's 6% strength. Which I suppose would explain the 3% variation I have been seeing earlier, but not the big one. Okay, yeah. I should have killed the old one. So yeah, that's where the 3% was coming from, you're right. That explains the 3%, but it doesn't explain the 1900 jump. Okay, so here we go. 13381. What about the 14 stacks? Yeah. 16 stacks, 17, 8 for 1. It's, now it's all just working. What did I do? Does it change based on backbeat? Backbeat increases number of pillars, not damage. $26,761 for 24. Now it's all just working fine. I have no idea what happened. None. I doubt I could even go through the replay of this VOD and figure out what happened there. I'm a complete loss on this one.
All done.
I am at a complete loss. The only thing I could maybe guess is that the types of Xmas affects it. I don't see why it should. That one's working as expected. I'm trying double cast and it's still working as expected on double cast. Arctic Xmas. 14 procs, 15611, that's working as expected. Let's try for an Arson Xmas. I doubt that's the reason, but I'm going to try it. Maybe it crit? It doesn't crit. And we saw a lack of crit value on it. There's nothing to crit. That's Jade. Shock. Jade. Arson. 4 procs for 4461, that's as expected. Let's just hit them a couple more. 25 at 28991, that's as expected. Sorry, 26 for 28991, that's as expected. Nope, no idea. Okay, I'm giving up on that. Looked at the VOD and you think the overguard round. You think it did. I'm not going to address think on that. If you have the VOD in front of you, you should be able to know one way or the other, sorry. I'm not going to work on think. Alright. Whatever was going on with that. Still, I believe Impetus is a very good arcane pickup for Temple, because unique status effects that Temple can put out, I can get that to 9 without having to use a companion or any other BS going on. I can get that to 9. 9 stacks of that, that's 54% strength and 27% efficiency, allowing us to go for such a low efficiency setup. When combined with the passive, we end up actually in positive efficiency, which very good for energy economy. Let's say if the 1 is working the same way the 2 does with the backbeat, then the 2 times damage shown in the tooltip stacks. So if you do multiple, it will 2 times each time you hit with the ability. Red crits were coming from the Tazakor, and the way that you interact with the 3. Heat damage bonus stacks up each time you hit with the 2. Okay. Blue Knight. Blue Knight. First of all, you just straight up said there, the red crits you were experiencing were coming from the Tazakor, so that clearly had nothing to do with the ability. So you were already off your rocker on that one, unfortunately. You saw one thing, you imagined it was another. Unfortunate, it happens. This is a confusing game. But now you're trying to tell me that the 2 times bonus on
King.
this
Smile.
is going to continuously stack? My understanding is that the pyrotechnic bonus here is ignite even more pillars. You go from 11 to 22 pillars. Here, overdrive bonus 2 times. It means you go from crit chance bonus of 55% to a crit chance bonus of 110% with these mods. That's what the 2 times means. Unless you're really seeing something else, I'm not picking up what you're putting down, my dude. Also, Eradicar, thank you very much for subscribing with your Prime. Welcome into the channel proper. Once again, they're at 14 months. Much appreciated. And Dark Wolf with the Hydrate. Blue Knight, I simply do not see how you are coming to any of the conclusions you're coming to. You're saying the way the 2 is interacts with the 3, where it gives extra heat damage. Okay, it's not where we were at before, but sure. If you cast a 3, then hit the 2 times the heat damage bonus will keep it stacking. Could be that the 1 is doing the same thing each. Blue Knight. Blue Knight, no. No! Blue Knight, come on! Have you even read how Temple works, or are you miscommunicating like hell now? If I activate my 3, okay, we activate it, wait for the buff to come through. The buff is 178% of my current modding, alright? We have a brand new target here, I'm at 178, I cast 2. I hit them on the back beat, I'm now at 190. I'm going to do it again. On the beat, boom. I'm now at 201. And the reason that is happening is because on the 3 it says backbeat bonus 11% with my mods. 11% bonus for hitting the backbeat on these abilities. They say it on the abilities themselves. They give additional damage to Rip as well for hitting them on the backbeat. It's not a 2 times. We're not doubling it. So I'm not sure what you're picking up, what you're reading, but I cannot help you further if you're just going to keep mixing up these bonuses. I don't know what you think you're looking at. You've made a claim of the 1 dealing millions of damage. I'm not seeing millions in any individual hit. Sure, if you accumulate enough damage on anything, you'll hit millions. You're saying 1 scales off the 3 damage stacking. Okay. It doesn't. Raise the procs work. That's what we were testing earlier. Is it the ability itself that's getting off it? Let's just get rid of this guy. Is it just the ability and the procs aren't growing? I suppose that was the same thing we were seeing with the weapons. It could be that. So this definitely active. 252%. We are hitting 8k damage each. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that is giving damage to this, but only damage, not on the procs. Okay. There it is. Still not fucking militants. But yeah. That's the one thing out of everything you pointed out that carries over, that this gives a damage buff to that on direct damage only. That's it. Out of everything you've said, Blue Knight, that's the one thing that works. That's what you're trying to say? Jesus. Okay, Blue Knight, look, I'm going to read out all your comments to you, and I really hope you learn something from this. Everyone keeps assuming off the first, but I think that's bad. I've seen the first hit for millions. Wrong. If you use Arcane Hotshot on Power Ramp, then cast 3 and alternate casting 2 and 1, the 1 will red crit. Wrong. The crit could come from the third. It is on the Tazakor, not the 1. So still technically wrong. Wasn't used Lizzie. Figured it out. Red crits from Tazakor. Also where the 2s work with Rip as well. It says it increases Rip as well bonus. Each time you deal damage with the 2, it stacks that bonus. It's not a one-time thing. That's just a fact of the abilities themselves, not a revelation. If the 1 is working the same way the 2 does with Backbeat, then the 2 times damage shown in the tooltip stacks. So if you do it multiple, it will 2 times each time you hit with the ability. Wrong. Like, dude, most of what you had to say was just wrong. Don't say that was what you're trying to say. You said other things. Don't act like you were on point the entire time. You were wrong. Just admit that. Fucking Christ. The inconsistency on this ability, on this whole frame, added to that is not doing my head any good. Confusion. We're not applying radiation, Templar Warden, so why are you posting a single word? What are you adding to it? Alright. So with what we know of what's broken with all of this, where can we go? From here. We know that strength is additive. Oh, the bonus we get from strength on the 4 is additive to the bonus we get from Serration and other pure damage bonuses. So Galvanize Aptitude is of relatively limited use unless you're going to status prime everything to use Lizzie, which you can do. I just feel that's kind of dunking on the whole point of using a flamethrower in the first place. Smolson? Seriously? No. I'm just not even going to address that, Smolson. And you should know why. Okay. It's Primary Merciless with its 360% maximum bonus. Despite being additive with the damage bonus you can get from this, even then, you would need, let's see here, 360 divided by 125. Maybe that's how that works. Actually, is this... No, this is only a 1.79 bonus, isn't it, at the moment? Yeah. So we'd need 368% strength. Yeah, 368% strength for the damage bonus from strength to equal the damage bonus from Merciless. So it is still worth using Merciless, or something to that effect, if you want the pure damage bonus. The bonus you'll get from Galvanized Aptitude is 80% per status effect. Additive with that, it's going to be hard for that to come close to Merciless and to be worth the slot. And Serration is just out. Would Hunter Munitions plus Rifle Elementalist be good on Lizzie? Okay, that's taking a very different approach to what we're looking at here. I would question why you would need Hunter Munitions. Hunter Munitions will give you a 30% slash output, ignoring any elemental bonuses. 30%... Was it? No. Yeah, 30% of slash procs. Now, slash procs themselves are only 35% of your base damage. So, pre-element, you're already down to a 10% output there in abouts. 30% to 35%. Already down to about 10%. You're waiting for it to kick in which I suppose you're waiting for heat procs as well, but the direct damage that you can have in that time is just wild. Multitoast Wizard saying, it's entirely possible misunderstanding. Would going negative power strength and using Serration Merciless to compensate since it's additive be viable? No. The reason being is the entire rest of the kit. The crit chance is based on strength. The heat damage from this is based on strength. Or at least the amount you get per cast and per stack. So by taking the strength away to try and shoehorn in Serration, you then also kill these other abilities. You're correct about it otherwise if you just looked at this, that you could ignore strength, but you lose everything in the process. So, not a good one on this one. So yeah, Serration is out. Spectral Serration is also out because you're not going invisible. It's Temple. It's not supposed to go invisible. I strongly feel that Merciless is going to be the way. Now, the plus reload speed is a loss, but it's fine. It's a flamethrower. You're not supposed to be tactical with it. Just got here which one is subsumable. The 5th ability. There we are. Alright then. So the rest of it, I've gone so far, fire rate, crit chance, crit damage, pretty standard fair stuff. Radiated reload I'd rank up when I put in more former, once I've decided where they need to go. Bane mods I know kill people, but let's see what else can we do instead. Because anything Serration is out, Acuity would remove our ability to gain multi-shot, and instead give us a weak point damage, weak point crit chance. It's a flamethrower, so that doesn't seem sensible to me. Heavy Caliber is out for the same reason as Serration, but if not worse. It's not a blast radius, a Firestorm does nothing. We shouldn't need Punch Through, right? It's a beam. Shouldn't need Punch Through. Let's just get a couple of those in. There we go. Let's give us some quick charge on this. There we are. Do we know if ammo efficiency done anything? I'll need to verify. Well, that verifies quite nicely that we absolutely do not need to have any punch through, because we have it all. And that sure does kill them. Took a moment there because we've got no stacks, but yeah. Well, the jump to subsuming anything, loads of people do that. Loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of people seem to think that the first thing you do with a Warframe is you subsume off one of the abilities. And the answer to that is no. Figure out what's wrong with your frame, figure out what's missing, fix that with a subsume. And if a subsume doesn't fix what's wrong with a frame, you don't subsume something. The default is not to subsume. Once you've decided what you're doing with the build and everything, then you can subsume something. Now, you like the magnetic mod for Xmas? Yeah. And as much as some people will tell you, oh, but you can use the magnetic wave, or the viral wave, or the corrosive wave, or whichever wave for whatever thing, that is absolutely an option as well, but you can also use a magnetic mod. That said, what is the other bonus on it? It's magazine capacity. Does that increase maximum charges? No. So the second feature of that is completely wasted. Mind you, reload speed on this is also wasted, so what have you. The reason I've gone for radiation is specifically because of Arcane Impetus. Arcane Impetus is looking for unique status effects from abilities, and Temple by default is just heat, 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 and then whatever you do with Lizzie. So that is where Lizzie comes in. With this current setup here, I've got radiation gas, and gas is going to get some work done. The gas gets completely outweighed by the heat bonus from your 3 later into a mission anyway, so you don't have to worry about gas procs capping out at 10. Which, by the way, DE, please can we fix that? Gas needs some love. Gas really needs some love. Elemental damage confuses blue spikes. How do you know when the DOT is scaled by elemental damage and when it isn't? Simple. You don't. Unless you have tested that very specific interaction, you don't know. Because DE are being inconsistent with it. They had a bug, they fixed the bug by making it worse. So yeah. Without knowing for certain, you don't. We are entering into the same territory as Galvanized Aptitude, and I really hate that being the answer I have to give you. But I'm not going to pussyfoot around it. I'm not going to lie and give you the general cases. The simple truth is you don't know until you are given the particular use case's answer. Whether through your own research or learning from someone else. And D probably should fix that. Spaghetti frame strikes again? Oh, it does. Oh, it does on this. Okay, so yeah, with the setup here, we've got radiation, we've got gas, we've got heat straight up from Temple. We've got toxin on the non-base heat stuff, because the toxin mod's got nothing to combine with on the viral wave. We've got viral, we got magnetic, we've got cold, and we've got corrosive. And that brings us up to 8 procs there. Where's my 9th? I know there's 9. Why have I only counted 8? Hold on. So we've got cold, we've got heat, we've got toxin, we're missing electric. We've got... yeah, we haven't got blast. We've got radiation, corrosive, viral, gas, and magnetic. We haven't got blast, we haven't got electric. So how am I getting 9? Electric for magnetic? Oh, is that counting? Oh, that's nifty. That is nifty. So if we summon one of these in, I can gather that. Impetus is on 1. Yep, that's fine. Let's activate this. Need to time it right. So now we're on 3 because impact. Oh! It's not electric from a mag proc. I'm now gonna... oh. I think I was a little bit late on that. Bollocks. Try again. I think it's the impact. Is the impact a forced proc then? Because I didn't see impact on there. Yeah, it must be a forced proc. It's gotta be a forced proc. Okay. Well... God, this frame has so much going on to it. There we are, charge it up. So yeah, let's just verify that real quick. I've got no stacks of anything at the moment. Fire that there. Impact, toxin, magnetic, 3 stacks acquired. Let's do another one. Let's do the cold one. Yep. This one's got nothing on it. Let's hit you with corrosive, impact, toxin, corrosive. Let's do the viral one. Look at that. Beautiful stuff. We're up on 6 procs. 7. Now we're up onto 9. I think, yeah, the electric from that did count. Can we get 10? Huh. I must have been missing something earlier. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, the electric you get from magnetic actually does apply. Holy shit. So you can get 10. Oh! I must have just never landed the magnetic into electric somehow. But sure enough, yeah, there it is. We got 10. Would internal bleeding work for Slash since it's force impact? Molten Toast Wizard, please go back to the toaster. They added a thing for force effects but doesn't show on Lizzie. Oh, what, they added one of those? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. So with the 13 enemy missing puncture, slash, and blast. Correct. Yeah, the standard bits we could apply. Puncture, slash, and blast is all that's missing. And to be quite honest with you, to be missing out on blast, not even that much of a concern. To be missing out on puncture and slash, not a concern. We're fine. Where's the impact coming from? The game forced it in there. It's a forced impact proc. Because. That's why. Because. Damn, this frame is weirder than I thought. And yet, despite all that weirdness, it's not getting that much stronger. So, this ability caps out at 8,500 damage multiplied by strength per pillar. And those pillars are maxed out at 10 times strength. But ultra maxing out, let's say you had 500% strength. I know that's not ultra max, but let's say you had 500% strength, because that's still pretty wild. You would be having 8,500 damage times 5 times 10 pillars times 5 for a theoretical potential output of 2.125 million across all the pillars. And if the pillars multi-hit, even more than that. And on the procs, more than that. None of the individual hits will show millions, but your totals will be getting into that area. Which is pretty neat for a damage ability. But it's also a lot of setup to get there, and it's distributed. You can't apply it all to singular enemies. If we get a whole group of these Bombard Xmas, for example, let's just grab 20 of them. All level 200, Steel Path, all the shenanigans there. Give myself full rip as well. And then let's start stacking it up. It's currently at 178. Let's see how long we have to go before they die. I'm hearing some overguard breaking. I'm out of energy. Quick, if I can get it back in time, I can get back for the procs so I don't lose them. Nope, they're gone. The procs are gone. We're reset. I'm out of energy again, and they're halfway to dying. So yeah, with the way the pillars work, the pillars will split up among the enemies if there are enemies to split them up amongst. Otherwise, it just seems to put them in areas. Like so. And despite the radius, it seems to center the pillars pretty heavily on the point that it's aimed at. So it seems like the 20-meter radius is only if there's enemies in range. Otherwise, it will just put them nice and close. You see a whole cluster of them are over there. I'm out of energy again. What's a good mod to replace faction model, Lizzie? That build's not finished. It's just trying to find what is good to replace it. Grumpy Pants, cheers. Ellie talking about things like Sybaris. Let me just have a look at that real quick. Sybaris Prime. Where am I supposed to be looking for this? Sybaris Incarnon? Is it because I'm opening it in Simulacrum that it's just not going to work? It's probably. Let me grab Fulman. Nope, also didn't say anything there. But it has a unique trait up here. I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to be looking for. Yeah. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for on that, but it's not showing on Fulman if it's supposed to be under status. That's where you're telling me to look. In any case, Lizzie has forced impact status on the special fires. So, yeah, Radiated Reload, I'm still saying that's probably good to keep for getting that extra stack out of Impetus, because of the extra bonus to efficiency, because of the extra bonus to strength, and because, hey, why not, a little bit of radiation. Overall though, By itself, it's still primarily a 2-proc weapon. As much as you can apply additional procs of other things, I don't know about the value of Galvanized Aptitude. 80% per status effect. I suppose you can stack it up and then replace Primary Merciless with... it'll be Primary Frostbite most likely, but at that point then you'd need to continuously be using Frostbite to keep the power up and continuously stacking elements to get Aptitude's full power out. Is Hammer Shot allowed? Yes, but it's usually a pretty crappy mod. Just FYI. It is usually a bit crappy. Rifle Elementalist is currently okay. It's status damage and you're doing a lot of status damage, so it's worth picking up. I will say, however, that as and when do you get around to addressing the whole elemental damage bonuses not applying to status procs thing properly, that's going to be 100% stonks. I do strongly believe that. I don't know when D will fix, however, because their current fix is C tier. No, F tier. It deserves a fail. It deserves a fail. I know people hate baiting mods, but again, once the status thing is fixed, that's going to be a huge multiplier to damage. Getting rid of that seems like a bad idea. So, what else could really go there? I think it just does come down to, if you don't want to use the Bane, use, where have I lost it? Use Galvanized Aptitude, swap this out for Primary Frostbite, and just be very good at applying status, I guess. I believe you, Ellie. I believe you. Don't worry about it. I don't need the screenshot. I believe you. I'm just not backing out of Simulacrum right now just to look at one specific drop-down that isn't actually on the weapon we're looking at. That's all. I'm not ignoring you. We've just got something better to do. So yeah, all the rest of this... Pointless. We got the better one. Pointless. Variations of the same. Pointless. 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 Best option so far. Really, are you going to be aiming for headshots with this weapon that much? I mean, you can. Let's try it. Get ourselves a more ordinary group of enemies. Let's go with a Grenadier battle group. Let's act like we're actually trying to kill them. There we go, that applied to most of them. Sure, that works. Activate this. I have one stack on the headshots. I'm aiming across their heads. And I got one headshot stack. I swear I was aiming across their heads. One. Oh, I'm out of stuff. Yeah, no, just the one. Headshots already one kill Lizzie? No shit. Yeah. Says kills will be says kills, that too. The second ability gives enough crit chance you think Galscope's not even needed. Also that, yeah. Because you get so much absolute crit from this, where you apply to enemies. Bear in mind, there is that limitation. It's a 100-degree cone, 29-meter range, LOS from camera. There are restrictions, but yes. At least it's only got the cost of a first ability rather than a second as standard. That's a benefit. It's almost like it's a flamethrower? I know, right? So that's why I've not been looking towards the headshot stuff. It's why I've been leaning towards Merciless. It's why I've been leaning towards Banes. What else have we got? Aptitude, as I say, is the #1 aim for replacement on this. Although, modding capacity. Alright, get rid of the box. Prime Fast Hands, absolutely not. Crash Course, no. I guess because Temple's currently bugged, I guess this kind of works. Because this would increase the damage from your heat procs by 90%, just like Rifle Elementalist, due to the lack of buffs otherwise, but it then removes Toxin procs. So I don't think that... oh. Issue is heat inherit? Oh, the issue is already heat inherit, copy human. It already is that. This would make it better, not worse. I am aware, Dark Wolf, I know you can build up Lizzie's ammo whilst in Lizzie. It's not a bug, it says it on the ability tooltips. Trust me, it's intended. It's right there. It can even be recharged while active. It's right there. If your companion or any ally hits, you don't get that bonus. Copy. You don't need to explain heat inherit to me. I'm aware. Don't you worry. I had a good old rant about that about an hour and 20 minutes ago, I think. We're good. Alright, so where was I on the mods here? The Hellfire may be an option to replace on Prime Bane of Grenier, but it does cost you one of your status effects. So do bear that in mind. Or you could just, if you're going to lose the status effect, you could get rid of Malignant Force entirely. You lose that on gas as well then, so maybe not. But yeah. Need to watch the VOD? It might be best off just watching the whole video when I put this together for the temple. This is not going to be a quick frame guide to put together. I'm going to warn you all of this now. To try and put all this into a coherent and usable manner. Not to mention, Dee's probably going to patch stuff Monday, Tuesday to just further ruin my life. So yeah. Shred is a no-go, Piercing Caliber, these are just downranked mods of the same. Banes, but not primed. Bladed Rounds? Bladed Rounds could be a strong one. Because the amount of crit chance you're getting, this is a frame that wants crit damage brought us in by you. And as much as Hammer Shot exists, it's only 60%. Bladed Rounds is 120. Granted, you have to aim, but you can just aim with it. It's not a problem. You can just aim with the Flamethrower. I think, yeah, between a Bane mod or Prime Bane mod, especially when the whole elemental bonuses get fixed, Bladed Rounds... or let's say Galvanized Aptitude. And if you really stuck on all three of those, Hellfire is a final last resort, but I wouldn't recommend it for the loss of the Toxin procs. That's really about it. Vile Acceleration I still think is a good shout because of status output and damage output being so far rate connected. Shivering Contagion if you build for cold. Look, I get that Shivering Contagion has an effect, but I wouldn't recommend it. Vigilante Armament? Absolutely not. We've got 230% multi-shot from this versus only 60. The bonus you get from this mod is minuscule. And a little bit of the crit bonus, put it onto your companion if you really care that much. Hunter Munitions? No. Hunter Munitions is not going to benefit from any of your elemental bonuses. It's not going to benefit from your status modding. It's not going to benefit from huge amounts of crits because it stops at did you crit or not. So 30% of the time you will apply a slash proc, and that slash proc is only going to be scaled off of your non-elemental buffs, which means it's already now down to a 10% damage increase before ignoring all of the benefits you can get from heat instead. Building anything else. What mod can you possibly remove from here that this becomes better with as a result? The only one I can think of will be Radiated Reload, but you're just trading proc for proc. That might actually be the best one to remove, to be quite honest. Hunter Munitions for Radiated Reload might actually be valid. Wondering why Aptitude isn't a good option? So Aptitude's a middle option. If you really want to put in the effort to constantly status prime every target, sure. But it's still additive with Merciless, which means you might even then need to swap that out for a less impactful Arcane in general, or more multiplicative one, and it's additive with the damage multiplier you get from Strength. What if you're allergic to Banes? Then all the other things I've been saying so far, Grumpy Pants, keep up. You can't just say, what if you're allergic to Banes, like I've not been giving answers this entire half an hour. Don't do that. If you mod Lizzie for just Toxin, would Archon Continuity proc or doesn't it count? Good question, actually. You can't mod for just Toxin very easily because you need some way to get rid of the heat, but you do have Toxin on these other bits. Let me see. Can we get Archon Continuity? That said, I don't think you really need to because you can already proc corrosive with Lizzie. But let's just try it for the sake of it. There is that. I'm going to need some targets. Or if you're allergic to mods, wrong game. Alright then, let's use the magnetic one. This should apply toxin, which will apply corrosive. Well, there's a toxin proc. And yeah, there was a corrosive proc. Yeah. Yep. Archon continuity does work in connection with toxin modding. However, why would you need to? But you can, I guess, technically. You think corrosive procs will be swamped by heat that never stack up very high? I mean, yeah, that's always going to happen. That is always going to happen on this. What do the little stars around the reticle mean? It's how much charge you've got left. So if I just max this out... Oops, missed one. There we are. Do you see now I've got maximum charge, and then as I burn, bit by bit, it is charge, right? Yeah, and now once you get close to the end of it, then it just cascades out. So I think it's only towards the end, it's like a warning at the end. I didn't realize it was that much. That first ability brutalizes bitrate. It really does, doesn't it? Anyway, let me brutalize the bitrate some more. Y'all like being able to see pixels, right? Here, let me give you some big chunky pixels for a moment. Chunky, love it. You guys want 60 FPS? This is what comes with 60 FPS. Deal with it. That's 60 FPS for you. It limits how much of a bit rate I can give you. You know, your stream's crunchy? Oh yeah. I've given you square abilities. Arthur would be proud. Facecam so strong it turns a facecam into a... ability so strong it turns a facecam into a fine blurred smear. Yeah, it turns out that when you're committing this many war crimes, the broadcast actually needs to blur my face for anonymity purposes, you know. We don't want to turn in the whistleblower calling out these war crimes. We got to get a voice changer or something in there as well. Hold on, I think I have something for this. Give me a sec. Alright, so if we're communicating like via radio or something, like we can just start meddling with the effects. Maybe if we there we are. Let's not. You're only getting 9 stat procs, you added internal bleeding, now you're getting 10. I suppose, yeah, internal bleeding or hunter munitions. Hunter munitions is going to be better. Let's be real. You don't need internal bleeding, so go hunter munitions if you're going to do that at all. If you're going to do that at all. Thanks for the random jump scare. You are very welcome. You're very, very welcome. And that will be a point reward of all time. I feel like that's a good way to make everyone pissed off forever. The SFX drowns out the voice too. That was kind of the point. I dialed it up to, I think I put it to 8 out of 10 on that. It was supposed to be horrible. There are some settings I can use that makes it kind of like a knockoff Cephalon, but it's not very great. It's not very great. No one needs that long term. Anyway, I've spent a long time scratching my head over Temple, almost entirely with Insane Reacrum because, wait, it's hella broken. But I think it is about time that we do a Platinum giveaway. I'm going to give y'all a moment to grab some tickets on that whilst I quickly pop off the stream. So, !mark ticket in the chat for a chance to win it. I'll be back in just a moment. Alrighty then, that's enough time for people to grab tickets. If you've not already grabbed a ticket, you clearly didn't want a chance to win it. Actually, we got quite a few new faces grabbing tickets today. That is absolutely amazing. Glad to see that. Maybe one of you will be the winner. But let's close those entries now. If you haven't grabbed a ticket, tough. Absolutely tough. Exclamation mark chair? That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Alright then. I see if you're trying to grab tickets, too late. I gave you all the warning you needed. All the warning you needed. Let's have a look. Out of the 90 of you smart enough to grab a ticket, the winner today of the Platinum giveaway for 75 Plat is Al Aegir. Aegir, congratulations, you are the winner today. I'm calling rigged. That's definitely rigged. Aegir, you hacked my computer whilst I went away, didn't you? Aegir, how absolutely dare you? Come on now. Just because you're a moderator doesn't mean you're allowed to hack my computer. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Aegir, congratulations on winning that. I'll be sending you a message shortly after the stream. Get a hold of your Warframe username, platform, and cross-save status, as if I don't already know it. And we'll get that sent on over to you, absolutely. All the details will be in the DM. Yeah, those of you who didn't grab a ticket this time, you'll just have to grab them on the next stream, it's fine. We do those every Wednesday and Sunday, so it's only a couple days away. 3 if you count those a couple, until the next time you have a chance at that. It's a couple extra formats for you. It is indeed Aegir. Yeah, Aegir, let me just send you a quick whisper smiley. You know what details to send over. There is the DM to send them to. If you could do the honours there, please, that'd be much appreciated. Alright then, to everyone else though, thank you very, very much for joining in. Whether you joined here yourself, or if you came over on the Nightmare Frame raid and stuck around since then. My condolences if you had to deal with both Nightmare and me in one lifetime, but there we go. Let's see where we can raid on over to. Where, oh where? Has my hair been tufted up this entire time and no one mentioned? I'm actually very appreciative because that would have annoyed me. Let's see, who can we raid today? Who can we raid? I imagine there's going to be quite a few people in the Warframe category today. You know, what with the whole brand new update. Let's see, who have we got live we could go to? There is I'm currently Coda hunting, fair enough. There is Gaz, we went to them very recently. There is no sympathy. I think we'll go, yeah, we'll go Brozyme. We'll go Brozyme. The bitrate prevented you from seeing my hair. Fair enough, that's probably for the best. That is probably for the best. I've never been happy with how my hair is. It's either good enough or not good enough, but never happy. But that is all that rambling today. I need to rest because Temple has murdered my brain. I'm going to go rest up, definitely, from that. I will catch you with some more Warframe on Wednesday, but in the meantime, have a grand start to your week and be your absolute best selves. Bye-bye.